And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what?
China.
All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
The lion won't sleep tonight, 'cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight, 'cause we woke now, and we woke now. They want us to sell our souls to barter profit, like God's property is hard to market. So we steady to aim, keep your eyes on target, 'cause when you got to drive, yeah, they'd rather you park it. But I don't valet, you ain't getting these keys. I'm keeping closed hands, I'm on bended knee. I'm just a reflection, dealing with 8 sections. Art mixed with life, you can feel the convection. Your lion won't sleep tonight, 'cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight, 'cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said
the same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
Only one true ethnic Jew, the Mizrahi Jew, because they are Africans, and if you read the original Bible written in Phoenician Hebrew, they're not. Jewish people are not Europeans. The modern Jews in Israel are Russians or Khazars to be precise, from Russia. I learned it from my grandfather that he was because he was an Ashkenazi Jew.
The white man is enacting a story all over the world. We left our homes and flooded the world. We smothered culture. We smothered knowledge. We erased history and rewrote it our way. Myself, my grandfather is 100% Ashkenazi Jewish. Claiming to be Jewish, Ashkenazi Jewish is just a conspiracy. White men claiming to be of tribes of Israel when I'm Germanic. You know, I have no ties to Israel, no ties to Judaism.
Planned Parenthood was made by the same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
We would not know how to live on the Sabbath if it were not for the oral law. We would not know what the laws of the dietary laws of kashrut are if it were not for the oral law. We would not know what the tefillin, what the boxes on our arms and heads that we wear every morning in our prayer service, what they're supposed to be. And in fact, all of Judaism would be completely mysterious. It would be voodoo if it were not for the oral law.
So before you kind of lost your tradition, because all the tradition I hear, it's like, I said, this is Jewish,
Yes.
with a twist.
Yes.
Not exactly,
Yes.
but maybe 90%.
Yes.
You know, but now you're assimilated with Christianity to
Yes.
make things worse.
Yes.
And that's really impacted the
But
community.
negatively.
So I want to ask you a question. I mean, not to be controversial, because I see you have pages and pages of those traditions. And I hope you will make more videos for us,
All right.
systematically walking us through those things. But I think it's overwhelming. We cannot say that the Hebrew people do not have a connection to Israel.
Not at all.
We cannot say it. Can we say that they're exactly the tribe of God? Maybe. There's strong connection to the tribe of God here.
Yes.
We know that. I was with you, and you showed me the statue of the man with the knife and the sword.
Yes.
And the word God exactly mean that. The
Yes.
people of the
Of the
knife
knife,
and the
yes.
sword.
And return
You
back
know,
home.
you know what you are?
Who are
You're
we?
an ancient Israelite.
Ancient Israel, that's who we are. That's who we are. So if you give me time, if you give me time, all that he said,
no, we don't have.
there are so many years.
I know. Look at this. This is pages and pages of
Yes.
notes. And I promise we'll give more teaching. But here is my challenge to you.
All right.
I'm hearing some of your traditions. It's like the days of the Bible.
Yes.
Do you want to remain ancient Israelites or you want to be Jews? Do you want to remain ancient Israelites or you want to be Jews? Do you want to remain ancient? I'm hearing some of your traditions. It's like the days of the Bible.
Yes.
Do you want to remain ancient Israelites or you want to be Jews? That is the question I have for you.
Thank you. I'll answer that question.
Go ahead, I will help you.
After the demise of Solomon, we now have the northern and southern kingdom of Israel.
Yes.
So when we talk about Jews, Jews are Israelites, but all Israelites are not Jews. The 10 tribes that got lost are not Jews. They were Israelites. Jews are Israelites, but all Israelites are not Jews. The 10 tribes that got lost are not Jews. They were Israelites. Jews are Israelites, but all Israelites are not Jews. The 10 tribes that got lost are not Jews. They were Israelites. So when we talk about Jews, Jews are Israelites, but all Israelites are not Jews. The 10 tribes that got lost are not Jews. They were Israelites.
Well, it's depending.
So minority cannot swallow the majority. We are here. We are the majority down here. So you are minority, and we are older than you.
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
Genesis chapter 11 verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you.
To everyone, hope you guys had a blessed Shabbat. Let me go to get this ticker going here. Hope you guys had a blessed Shabbat, and we had a great Shabbat here. Had a great lesson, great participation. And let me go ahead and before I get started here, let me post the Cash App. And I just want to take a moment to really talk about what you see on your screen. Deuteronomy 28:68 proves you're not Israel. And so we're really going to talk about Deuteronomy 28:68. It's a number of other things that I want to address, but I'll just do this over the next few weeks leading up to the Passover, because it's a lot of crazy arguments that other communities are making, including the Jewish community as we know them, to try to say we're not the people of the book, right? They'll come up with all kinds of arguments. Let me see here. My mic is low. Let me check my mic before I get started. Let me see here. All right, let's see. All right, that's fine there. All right, how's my mic sounding right now? Let me make an adjustment here. I'm not sure why my mic is sounding low for some of you guys. Let me make sure I'm talking into it. Testing 1 2. Why is my mic sounding low? All right, that's fine there. Let me do one thing here. Testing 1 2. How's my mic sounding now? Is my mic sounding okay to you guys? Let me see here. The StreamYard is acting up here. All right. Does my mic sound better to you guys? If it sounds better, type 1. All right. All right. Great. Great. So there's a lot of, crazy talking points that many would come up with to try to uh, tell us we're not the people of the book, to the point that they are sounding like they are like back in the days, we would say they're talking out of both sides of their neck, right? One of the arguments that you're hearing is the numbers. Like, hey, how did the Israelites, if you're Israel, how can you be in the numbers that you are? How can it be millions of people be in Israel? Just all kinds of crazy stuff, which easily could be knocked down. And we'll deal with it another time. I done dealt with that so much that I share certain sources, how it tells us that Israel was numerous in Egypt, right? And when you, when you start really studying the history of the Israelites, going from 70 people, right? And then over the attrition of being in Egypt for 215 years, going from 70 people to almost 2 million people, right? Just that, just to go off those records. But when you start looking at the historical aspect of Israel, right? When you start studying like the archaeological proof that they have, like for example, they have proven that there was millions of slaves in Israel, in Egypt, right? Let me just copy this over real quick. I'm just going to copy this over real quick. And I tell you, family, when you really understand the opposition against our community, it always occur when I say the height of it builds up around this time. It builds up around this time of the year, right? It builds up around this time of the year. Why? When you start looking at this time of the year, March, right? That is the Greek god of war, right? I did a lesson on this prior to the pandemic, right? Dealing with March. And when you start looking at the time that we're in right now, this is the time that the plagues took place in Egypt. This is the height of the spiritual warfare that was going on against our ancestors dealing with Egypt. So don't be surprised when you see all kinds of foolishness, all kinds of things that are coming out about our community. The same arguments they're trying to make towards our community, basically in a nutshell, contradicts the arguments that they're making to try to substantiate their claims, saying that they are the people of the book. It is ridiculous, some of the things that you are hearing from the things that are being stated about what others are trying to say to basically try to prove that we are not the people of the book, right? But this is why you have to use sources, family. This is why you have to use sources when you're dealing with, certain groups of people. And this tells you how just what the agenda, the motives, and all of that is, because they always find a way to not deal with sources. Out of all the groups of people, we're the only group of people where everyone trying to tell us who we are, tell us that we're not the people, where there's insurmountable evidence. Insurmountable evidence. So if Israel could go from 70 to 2 million people, almost 2 million people coming out of Egypt in a 215-year span. So you mean to tell me that from that point on, they never grew? How do you even have the argument that there was 6 million Jews that was part of the Holocaust, that was murdered, that was slaughtered? Because that will also nullify that. So, that talking a point about the numbers. Because if they were going to say that, Israel stayed this real small group, then how is there 6 million? Because you're undermining that narrative about the 6 million. And again, I want to make it clear that I'm not sitting here trying to say that or downplay the tragedy that happened, with the Holocaust. I'm not downplaying that. I'm not trying to insult anyone. I'm not getting into the numbers and all of that. But when you make comments like that, when you make statements like that, when you try to make talking points like that, that tells me, that there's a lot of agendas. These are agendas that are being pushed, narratives that are being pushed, because those are narratives to me out of desperation. So family, don't fall for that stuff. But let me just show you something real quick before we get into the lesson. It's too easy to knock down. So let me show you something by a source. You guys already know the source. I got to, again, like the Most High told Moses to Joshua, to do to Joshua, rehearse it in his ears. So we're going to have to keep going over stuff over and over again because of the lies that are out there. The Confederate group of people that's out there against our community. You have now this narrative of the Jewish community, the ADL and all of them teaming up with each other, whether you Messianic or non-Messianic, coming up with this talking point, this argument saying that, anti-Semitism is at an all-time high and historical level like never before. They began to push that narrative with Kanye West, saying it's at an all-time high like never before, which, but then you're telling me that basically what Kanye West had posted, you're saying that that's worse than the Holocaust, because the Holocaust is anti-Semitic, right? It's defined as acts of anti-Semitism. So you're trying to say that Kanye West's actions or statements that he made is worse than the Holocaust. See, you don't hear them giving actual events. Show me court documents. Show me police reports. Because the ADL got caught in a lie about the whole situation that he tried to use as an example about the so-called anti-Semitic acts that was performed up in, I think it was New York or New Jersey, where, an older guy, a Jewish guy, and his son was shot with BB guns, and come to find out it was someone from their own community. Right? Those are the facts. But as Karl Rove stated, and he's not the originators of this comment or this statement, that you keep rehearsing the lie over and over again, people will believe that it's true. To actually say that the anti-Semitism that they are dealing with is coming directly from our community. They are literally coming out like that, but at the same time, they would say that they shared our struggles. Whereas though we can prove that every aspect of the things that we had to deal with, from slavery, with them being the running the merchants, they owned ships, they owned most of the ships, they owned most of the ports. When you look at the old posters or ads of them selling our ancestors, if you look at the bottom of it, you'll see their names at the bottom of it. You'll see the name Cohen. You'll see the name of Yahukanan. You'll see those names on the bottom of these flyers selling our brothers and sisters. If you study, and Benaya did a great job when he really brought all of this to the attention. When you study even the origins, when you look at the whole Confederacy, who funded the Confederacy? Who played a major role at funding the Confederacy? Guess who you'll see behind that? Who was the ones that actually made the garments for the KKK? Look it up, family. It's right there. So all of our struggles, their hands is right in the middle of all of that. But yet, at the same time, want to say that we are anti-Semitic? Come on, we don't see them, making comments about these things, these actions like this. Let me play this video real quick. You don't hear them talking about this here.
נחשף ביערות בורקינה פאסו שבט קניבלים נטו שלום למנהיג השבט קזבובו.
שלום עליכם. אברהם יצחק יעקב, יודע עברית, שולחן, חשבונית, קובי פרץ, מוטלס, יבוטאו.
מרק הזבובו, כולנו כאן בישראל מופתעים ונרגשים נוכח האפשרות שתעלו ארצה.
כזבובו שמח, 2000 שנות גלות נגמר, רואים אור בקצה של מנהרה.
אתם בטוחים שאתם יהודים?
התחלנו על חנן. אם הוא שחור הוא לא יהודי?
לא בגלל שהוא שחור, הוא...
מה הוא מה?
קניבל.
ומי אתה שתגיד לו מה לאכול, אם הוא קניבל הוא לא יהודי?
אולי תבוא, תעשה אצלנו שבת?
זה לא שיש לי משהו אישי נגדכם, אבל הפלשמורה למשל תקועים.
They don't want to talk about how melanated people, Negroes, right? Israelites, they don't want to talk about how they're being treated over in Israel right now, starting with this particular group here. They don't want to talk about this group right here and dealing with the racism that's over there, and many of them making it clear that they're proud to be racist. We don't hear about this here.
להתחיל לאסוף את המסתננים, לא צריך לחכות לבג"ץ, לא צריך שום דבר.
אני רואה חרא מחוץ לבית שלי, יריקות, פסיכופטים, אנשים שרק מחפשים איך לרצוח אותי בעיניים שלהם, אבל אף אחד לא מאמין לנו. אנחנו גזענים. אנחנו גזענים כדי לרצות לשמור על החיים שלנו ועל השפיות שלנו. אז אני גאה בלהיות גזענית. אני גאה בלהיות גזענית. אם אני גזענית בשביל לשמור על החיים שלי, אז אני גאה.
אל תשוע עם פושי! אל תנפושי לנסוע! אל תשוע עם פושי! לכי את והוא! תלכי מפה! תלכי! אל תשוע עם פושי! לכי! לא מתפייתם!
This is what we're hearing right now. This is what we don't hear about right now. But this narrative that's being pushed from the Messianic and the non-Messianic, because it's being proved, you hear the so-called, I'm not going to say so-called, you hear the Messianic Jews, they are saying the same thing. So family, don't get it twisted. And what's sad is many of our own brothers and sisters would rather brush that stuff up under the carpet. Want to brush that up under the carpet. Sweep it up under the rug. Don't even acknowledge that. See, that's what's happening right now. Like Judge Joe Brown made it clear, there is no laws in this country for anti-Semitism. There's no laws that's in this country for people that are having their feelings hurt, but there are laws for hate crimes. And those hate crimes is not geared towards any specific group of people. It's for all. Let's look at the reports on the hate crimes that are skyrocketing. So, according to their eyes, and I guarantee you will see our community at the top of the list of having all the hate crimes, the bulk of the hate crimes being done to. It's not even close. Let's look at the hate crime statistics. Not this thing of just regurgitating talking points of saying, hey, we look at what's happening, we're being talked about, or whatever the case may be. Anti-Semitic, give us the statistics, give us actual cases, give us actual situations, show us the police reports. Out of every group of people, we're the only group of people, especially here in this country, that we cannot even make the slightest sentence to saying that we're the people of the book, even though DNA proves it. Come on, family. But yet we hear this thing of, oh, we share your struggles. But now we see how it's getting they're getting bolder and bolder by saying, hey, you know what? Now we're going to go after and say, if basically what they're saying is, if you say, or if we say that we are the people of the book, that's anti-Semitism. That's hate crimes that will not stand up in any court. Now, family, I don't condone, slander and all those different things, regardless of who or is behind it. I mean, who is targeting it and who's actually the perpetrator of it. I don't roll with those things. But family, let's keep it real. Many of our struggles, guess what? They had that community, just like other communities, had their hands in every level of our struggle. Come on, family. We can't get away from it. We can't get around it. Can't get around it. But yet we are the ones that are anti-Semitic based upon how they define what anti-Semitism is. Even though we are a Shemitic people. But again, that's a whole nother discussion. But let me show you something here real quick as we get into our lesson, because I really want to get into Deuteronomy. But Exodus chapter 1, verse 7, look what it says here. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them. Then it goes on in verse 8, it says, now there rose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. But again, the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly, multiplied and waxed exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them. Right? So make a note of this, right? And when you see the Hebrew word for multiply is rabbah, right? And then when we look at where it says wax exceeding ma'ad, right? Those are the ancient pronunciation of these words, right? So increase abundantly, sharat tazah or sharats, and multiply rabbah, and wax exceeding ma'ad, right? In other words, they grew. There was numerous there. Who are these slaves? Those slaves are our ancestors, right? When you go here again, Cranium Aegyptica, see what other communities would try to do. They try to say, hey, that person was a racist. Well, actually, that's substantiating this even more, because this is 1844. We know he's a racist, but one thing they have not debunked is his cranium analysis that he made on each skull, proving who's who. Now, we could talk about his crazy stuff that he talked about, the brain size and all of that. That's a whole nother discussion, but they never debunked. They never went against or proved that he was wrong about his cranium analysis. And this is what he published in his works back in 1844, page 60. If it be allowable to make these data the basis of calculation for the past 35 centuries, it will follow that upwards of 10 million Negroes, 10 millions of Negroes have been brought as bondsmen into Egypt during that period. The vast influx of Negroes into the valley of the Nile must necessarily have left its impressions on the physical traits of the Egyptians themselves in modern times, as seen in the Copts and in more distant periods, as proved by the Negroid heads, in which both the configuration and expression are too obvious to be mistaken. But it may be inquired, how does it happen that Negroes or their descendants, he's comparing their craniums that was found in the catacombs, right, over in Egypt, right? He's comparing their craniums to our craniums, the nasal cavity, all those different key points. He compared those. That's why he's saying Negroes. He's astonished here, surprised that the Negroes that was enslaved by the transatlantic world war, some would say slave trade, have the same cranium, the same points that he highlighted in those skulls, those craniums from Egypt, from the catacombs. So he said, but it may be inquired, and this is the question: how does it happen? How does it happen that Negroes or their descendants should be found in the catacombs if they constituted a manile or slave caste system in Egypt? And we already proven with the last lesson that I did about the Passover and dealing with proving that there was slavery in Egypt, that the conscious community don't want to talk about. They always want to go with the Bible. Hey, look at slavery in the Bible. Oh, the Bible promotes slavery. The scriptures does not promote slavery like they try to make it out into be, which is chattel slavery or cattle slavery. Right? We see that Exodus completely knocks that down. Exodus, 21, verse 16, when it talks about the laws against kidnapping, forcing someone into servitude. It talks about that. But anyway, but we see here Negroes or their descendants should be found in the catacombs if they constituted a Manile or slave caste in Egypt. Right? And notice what he says here. Negroes were numerous in Egypt, but their social position in ancient times was the same that it is now. So he's dealing with Negroes. He's dealing with the Negroes back in 1844 and comparing these Negroes, our ancestors, to the Negroes in ancient Egypt. Saying that the Negroes were numerous in Egypt, but their social position in ancient times was the same that it now is, that of servants and slaves. And that right there, family, you will not hear them address this. You will not hear them address this. So we can't even, this is not even dealing with DNA. Why? Because during that time, guess what? The cranium is basically just as accurate at dealing with DNA. The technology was created, but the technology, really began to be used back in the 1940s, right? That's and I'll get more specific when you start getting to 1947, 1948. Go figure why suddenly DNA began to be developed in terms of used the way that it's being used, right? All these classes that we see here, for us, the Y, with dealing with the Y chromosome, right? You didn't see all those haplogroups at that time. Many of these haplogroups were developed over the past, I want to say, 30 years. So many of these haplogroups did not exist back in, the 18th century, or should we say the 19th century. It did not exist back in 1946, 47. But you began to start seeing them developed from that point on moving forward. All right. But here, I just gave you one simple source of an expert of that time, making it clear that we were numerous in Egypt. So family, when you hear people coming up with all kinds of crazy arguments right there, that completely shoots them in the foot. Shoots them in the foot. It shoots them in the foot, especially when it comes to integrity. All right. So I just want to start off with a little bit of that. Got more that I can cover, but I'm not going to do that because I want to deal with Deuteronomy 28, right? Because you hear this, and I'm sure if you guys heard this before, type 1. You say that you're Israel and Yahweh Elohim, and some of you guys would say Yahweh Elohim or Yahuwah Elohim. Not getting into this, the pronunciations of this, not a deal breaker, but it says, you say that you're Israel and Yahweh Elohim is going to bring you out into Egypt again. Then why are you in the U.S. and not in Egypt? Have you guys heard that before? Why are you in the U.S. and not Egypt? I'm sure all of you guys done heard that before. All of you guys have heard that before. And it's sad. This is the sad part. Whenever you hear, or for the most part, just about everyone that I heard get asked this question about the Jewish community as we know them, their enslavement, they always go to Egypt. They will not give you any modern situations. They go to Egypt. But when you read the scriptures, and Jeremiah gives you confirmation, Jeremiah chapter 2, when you study the scriptures, right? Egypt wasn't the only captivity. when you get to the book of Judges, it's captivity after captivity after captivity after captivity. Israel had gone into so much captivity to the point that when the prophecies came to the prophet Jeremiah about the captivity, and at that time was dealing with the Babylonian captivity, right? When it was told to him, when the Most High made it clear to him what was going to be the punishment for what Israel had begun to indulge in, captivity. Jeremiah was like, "Hey, are we born? Or is that our purpose to be enslaved?" He said that. He asked that question. So why do it that we only hear that Egypt, right? Egypt captivity. Wait a minute. Okay, you saying enslaved? Okay, Egypt, the Egyptian captivity. How come that's the only captivity that is being spoken of? But we can speak right now. We can speak about the sub-Saharan slave trade. That was the precursor to the transatlantic slave trade. We can still talk about it today about how many of our brothers and sisters are being kidnapped and taken over to some of those Arab countries and forced into slavery. It's happening right now. Come on, family. Come on, family. Look at what's happening to our community if we want to compare any community to the curses there. What strangers? There's plenty of strangers among us that are prospering in our communities. Who owns the 7-Elevens? Who owns, for the most part, even when you start dealing with the hair products, when you start dealing with distribution, who owns those places? Most of those are owned by Koreans. Koreans own 95% of the distribution when it comes to hair supplies in our community. Who owns all these things? Most of the businesses in our communities outside of barbershops, outside of beauty salons. Strangers among us. Who owns most of the apartment complexes? Come on, family. Can we just ask these questions? That's right. Who owns the nail shops? Who owns the Family Dollars? Yeah, they shutting down on many of the grocery stores in our community and putting up Family Dollars, cheap food sources. Who own all these places? Who fits that curse? Show me how other communities, because some would say, hey, every community, they had to deal with some type of form of slavery. They had to do. No, show me, because the scholars will make it clear that there was no other form of slavery like the things that our ancestors were subjected to. Come on, family. We fit all the curses, not one curse. If we go LeBron James, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6. We fit all the curses. We fit all the curses. Every nation was part of that situation. Every nation, including the Jewish community as we know them. We can't get around it. So we're going to deal with Deuteronomy 28:68. And we're going to get proper clarity on Deuteronomy 28:68. Because many, they teach this incorrectly. But guess what? I can prove this over and over again. I don't have a problem having a discussion about this here, because it's so easy to knock down anyone that wants to say that, hey, this doesn't apply to the Negro. It's obvious. It's right here. It's laid out. So let's go ahead and get into it, family. I know this, we're taking a little longer to get into the lesson, but I just had to get a few things off my chest. All right. You say that you're Israel and Yahweh Elohim is going to bring you into Egypt again. Then why are you in the U.S.? Why are you in the United States and not in Egypt? Right? Deuteronomy 28:68 is going to be our foundational text that we're going to use. and this is coming from the KJV, and Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt, right? Matazar Yam, or some would say Mitzrayim, right? Again, with ships, Anayah, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold, Makar, unto your enemies, Ayabah, or Ayabai, right? When you start looking at this here, active hostility, but sold unto your enemies, for bondmen and bondwomen, Ibad Yam, and no man shall buy you, Quana, no man shall buy you. Let me read it again. And Yahweh shall bring, and your translation will say the Lord. And Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Okay, now this is the NIV version of that same text, right? Doing a comparison here. Yahweh will send you back in ships to Egypt on a journey. I said you should never make again. There you will offer yourselves for sale to your enemies as male and female slaves, but no one will buy you. All right. And this is the Message Bible version of this text. Yahweh will ship you back to Egypt by a road I promise you'd never see again. There you'll offer yourselves for sale, both men and women, as slaves to your enemies, and not a buyer to be found. So let's go ahead and deal with this portion of the text. Send you back into ships to Egypt on a journey. Let's deal with that text. Crazy, right? Let's deal with the Oxford Dictionary definition of journey, right? This is how they downplay it, right? But an act of traveling from one place to another, the sub-entry here, a long and often difficult process of personal change and development. So the NIV describes this consequence, right, as a difficult process, right? A difficult process, really downplays it. And for some of you guys that may not know, right, Deuteronomy 28, chapter 28, lists the blessings and the consequences, not the curses. The curses is in chapter 27. Let me say that again. Chapter 27 is where the curses are listed, right? When you get to chapter 28 is where the blessings are listed. Then after the blessings is where you see the consequences for breaking the curses, the laws that are laid out right there. The blessings is if Israel keep and honor and not break what they confirmed. That's where you see when you read the latter part of chapter 27, they're saying Amen at the end of each curse that is announced. So I want to make sure you guys understand, you do not see the curses in Deuteronomy 28. You see the consequences for breaking the curses that's laid out, the laws that are laid out in Deuteronomy chapter 27. So again, the proper sequence is the curses, the blessings, and the consequences. All right. So I hope that makes that's clear for you guys that are watching this and really babes in this awakening. So the NIV describes this consequence as a difficult process. So again, Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt. So let's really delve into the Egypt, right? Because the name Egypt is a Greek name. Let me say that again. The name Egypt is a Greek name. You know, even when you think about the name that many of the conscious community will try to say, hey, look, when you say Amen, oh, that's giving praises to Amen Ra. No, that's completely incorrect. Number one, Amen Ra is a Greek name. His actual name is Yamanu, or we could say Yamana. That's the actual Egyptian name. Okay, but again, the name Egypt is a Greek name. So let's look at the word Egypt. Notice what it says here. Egypt. English, right? It gives you Egypti, the Egyptian. French, Egypte. from Greek Egyptos, right? But it tells us again, from the Greek Egyptos. That is a Greek name. That is not a Hebrew name. Okay? That's a Greek transliteration. But it says here, the Egyptian name Kemet in the ancient Hebrews, Hamat, means black country, possibly in reference to the rich delta soil, right? That Adamah, that the Most High created man from, that Adamah, right? You know, going back to this this video here that you don't hear many within those communities wanting to discuss, right? But you guys remember this here. Let me play it real quick. This is who was created out of that Adamah.
Finally, Wells comes face to face with the man he's been searching for. A new portrait of the common ancestor of every man today. Adam. Without a skull, we can't know for sure what Adam looked like. But a combination of genetic evidence, Bender's forensic skills, and cutting-edge computer software suggests he looks something like this. Thousands of years after the Bible, and hundreds of years after Michelangelo, we have a whole new face for Adam.
I like the expression. He's got a very forceful look.
You know, he's intent on something, maybe taking over the world. You know, you begin to get perhaps an insight into why these guys won out and why this guy's our ancestor.
All right, so we see here, Kemet, Hamat, means black country, possibly in reference to the rich delta soil, that Adamah. That Adamah. See, oh man, I could pick apart some of these talking points of trying to say, oh, David was ruddy. Solomon was ruddy. Oh my gosh. Too easy to pick apart. I encourage you guys to watch the video, the lesson, anything but the Negroes, right? Anything but the Negroes. And you'll get a proper understanding of what the word ruddy means according to the biblical text, not what these deceivers are trying to push. All right. But anyway, which is derived from Mitzrayim, the name of a son of biblical Ham. So the actual ancient Hebrew pronunciation of Ham is Ham. So Kemet's actual name is Hamat, right? That's the actual name, not Kemet, but Hamat, just like Ham. His real name, his actual Hebrew pronunciation of his name is Ham. Okay, just to make sure you guys get clarity on that. All right, so that way you guys get clarity on that. Okay, so does this name mean bondage? Because this is important for you to understand, because we have to understand what Egypt means to the Israelites, not to from a perspective of the Egyptians. We got to see what this name means. The ancient name means according to Israel, the culture of the Israelites. Does the name Egypt, Matazar Yam, mean bondage? Does it mean bondage? Well, let's go ahead and pick this name apart, right? As you see here, Mitzrayim or Mitzrayim, right? Or Matazar Yam. It says Upper and Lower Egypt. But it really doesn't give us a lot here. So we know that this is a masculine plural. So we know this has to be the primitive root word, right? This has to be the root that is being pulled from. And ultimately, this is the primitive root right here. So let's go to, get really delve down into the layers of this name. So again, the masculine plural, Yam, and the Israeli Im plus Matazar forms the Hebrew word Egypt. right? But this is the transliterated name. Egypt is the transliterated name. So it'd be Matzar Yam. So when we go to Matzar in the Israeli Matzur, right, it says a mound. But notice it says here, besiegers, defense, fence, fortress, siege, strong, stronghold, siege, in other words, enclosure. Okay, so Matzar or Matzar means besiege. So Matzar comes from the primitive root word tazar, which means confine, adversary, assault, beset. It means besiege. And when we go to the definition of besiege from the Oxford, notice what it says here. Surround, in other words, a place with armed forces in order to capture it or force its surrender. Lay siege to. So when you start understanding a siege, this is the tactics, one of the military tactics when we start studying wars, like when you deal with the the religious wars, when you start dealing with the Catholic Church and all of that, what they call it, I can't remember the term that you use, the Crusades. When you start looking and going further back, one of the strategies, and when you look at what happened to Israel, especially with Jerusalem, the temple, right, what they did was they held the whole area under a siege, preventing any resources for coming in and killing and capturing anyone that leaves from within these walls. The goal is to surround the whole area and basically allow them to starve and force them to surrender. Josephus gives a clear explanation and really gets into the details about what happened. So surround a place with armed forces in order to capture it or force its surrender. Lay siege to. So when we go to the Oxford Dictionary of siege, we saw besiege, but now let's see what siege says. A military operation in which enemy forces surround a town or a building, cutting off essential supplies, as I just pointed out, with the aim of compelling the surrender of those inside. Okay? The sub-entry says an operation which a police or other force surround a building and cut off supplies with the aim, again, forcing an armed person to surrender. So again, cutting off essential supplies with the aim of compelling those to surrender. And when we go to Exodus chapter 1, verse 11 through 14, notice what it says here. Therefore, they did set over them taskmasters, right? Masayam or Masyam, but we see Masa, right? Masa, right? Master. Masayam, right? That is the plural. To afflict, Anak, them with the burdens. Sabalat. So we see that Israel was being forced. They were under a siege. It's not like they could just up and leave. Therefore, they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses. So they built treasured cities, family, not just pyramids. They built cities. They built other structures during this particular dynasty, right? Pithom, Ramses, these are names of cities. But the more they afflicted them, Anak, them, the more they multiplied, Rabbah, and grew, Paratizah or Parats. And they were grieved because of the children of Israel. So they oppressed them. They oppressed them. Okay? Verse 13, and the Egyptians made the children of Israel, I'll say it again, and the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve Ibad with rigor, parak, and they made their lives bitter, marar, with hard, quasha, bondage, abadah, in mortar and in brick and in all manner of service in the field. All their services were in, they made them serve was with rigor. So the Egyptians' goal was to cut off essential supplies used by the Israelites with the goal of compelling them to surrender, which means that they had the Israelites under what? A siege. And that's confirming the meaning of their name from a Hebraic perspective. All right? We're going to walk this thing down, family. We're going to walk this thing down. So the etymology dictionary of the word bondage says legal conditions of a serf or slave. A serf, tenant, farmer. A freeborn farmer, dweller, prepare, inhabit, right? To be, exist, grow, all right? But again, legal conditions of a serf or slave. And then when we go to the word, the adjective of this word, it says here, in a state of serf unfree from bond, right? The noun, but it says tenant, farmer, holding land under a lord in return for customary services. All right. It goes on to say the sense of the noun, giving us more information on it, but it says from free farmer to serf slave. Okay. So bondage is connected with the word bond. We already highlighted this here, but notice here the adjective. One, it says fasten, compelled, bind, under obligation, made fast by tying. But again, does the name Egypt mean bondage? Guess what? I put yes and no. Why? Because if you look it up from the culture from the Egyptians themselves, they're not going to tell you this name means bondage. But as I proved to you from an ancient Hebraic perspective, Matazar Yam is a name of bondage. I'll say that again. Matazar Yam is a name of bondage. So Egypt's reputation is connected to Israel because they had the Israelites bound. So again, bring thee out of Egypt, right? Bring thee out of Egypt. Matazar Yam. Bring thee into Egypt. Matazar Yam or Mitzrayim means to be bound again by the spirit of Egypt. Because the Most High made a promise to Israel that, in a nutshell, that the Egyptians will not have power over them again. The Egyptians, the physical Egypt, those people would not have power over them again. And we can see examples, a number of examples that will prove this. And I'm going to highlight one of the examples. So bring thee into Egypt means to be bound again by the spirit of Egypt. Okay. So Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 and 14. And Moses said unto the people, fear ye not, stand still. You guys hear me quote this over and over again. Been quoting this from the beginning of our ministry for almost 14 years, right? This has been one of our theme passages that we continue to quote, right? That's where I got the phrase, can't go back, can't stay here, keep moving forward from. And Moses said unto the people, fear ye not, Yara'ah, stand still, Yatazar, Yatazab, or Yatzab, and see, Ra'ah, the salvation, Yahshua, of Yahweh, which he will show to you today. For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever. The Hebrew word is awalam. So Moses said unto the people by way of the Most High, speaking for the Most High to the people, fear ye not, stand still, and see the salvation of Yahweh, which he will show you today. For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever. So guess what? We're not dealing with a physical Egypt when we deal with Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. And we are dealing with a perpetual consequence. It's not just a one-time consequence. Laws are put in place to be a perpetual law for a perpetual or habitual behavior. Okay? So ye shall see them again no more forever. Awalam, as you see here at the bottom here. And notice what it says here. It says eternity, always. Ancient time, continuous, lasting, long time, perpetual. So these are some of the words that awalam transliterates to. Again, in the Israeli, it's pronounced olam. And again, I'm not getting into all this, the specifics, the semantics, because again, there was no O sounds in ancient Hebrew. Right? Not going to play the video to prove that. Have other proofs to substantiate that as well. But we see here again, this word means eternity, always, ancient time, continuous. Those are some of the key words there. Lasting, long time, right? Perpetual. That's the key. Perpetual, eternity, always. Those are some key words. All right. So the Egyptians, right, as a nation, they had their authority over Israel removed, right? The Egyptians, the nation themselves, they were not blotted out, but their control and authority over Israel was removed forever. So that knocks down this so-called talking point that many of these people uses by saying, hey, if you're going to go back to Egypt, okay, how come you in America? Because it's not dealing with a physical Egypt, because then the Most High is breaking his promise to his people. He's breaking his promise that he made to his people. So the Egyptians, the nation was not blotted out, but their control and authority over Israel was removed forever. So what is spiritual Egypt? I'm glad you guys asked. When we go to Revelation chapter 11, verse 8, notice what it says here. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt. Are we not seeing the behaviors? I could go into the behaviors, like when we're dealing with the Passover, we're going to deal with another portion of their behaviors that we see our people is still being subjected to today. For example, when we start dealing with genocide, when we start dealing with the spirit of vigilante, that spirit was with the ancient Egyptians. They allowed everyone within their community to be able to kill the young men 2 years or under, as far as the boys in our community. Pharaoh gave a declaration, he gave a mandate, he gave a decree that, and he empowered every last one of the Egyptians. Didn't matter if they was in a position of authority or not. Didn't matter if they was part of the lawmakers, or everyone was empowered to become vigilantes and kill any male that was 2 years and under. That is still happening today. We're the only community that other communities can come to our community and police our community. That's when you start getting into the Barbados slave codes or the black codes that was here as well in the United States, in which this legal system is built off of. Come on, family. We see dead bodies all over the place. Their dead bodies shall lie in the streets of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom. We're dealing with the perversions. Are we not seeing the perversions rise up like never before? And it also says, and Egypt. Are we not seeing our brothers and sisters being slaughtered at high numbers right now on television? We keep seeing lynchings happening right now. A major cover-up that's happening, I believe it was in Mississippi, a cover-up that just got exposed less than a month ago. Come on, family. Show me one community that is lining up with these curses here. Anyone that tried to tell you differently are blatantly lying to you. Come on, family. It's not just in the United States. So we could say Babylon, and we know Babylon was destroyed, but the spirit of Babylon is still existing. The system of Babylon is still existing, but we don't want to acknowledge spiritual Egypt. Come on, family. Come on, family. Come on, family. We still seeing, we got out here in Henrico County, out here, you had someone murdered, had mental issues. They murdered him. That's on the news right now. down in Petersburg a year and a half ago, how a military soldier was being harassed by the local police officer. He was an officer stationed at Fort Lee. Now, show me what community. Show me what community. We would love to have to just only deal with people hurting our feelings, saying some harsh things about us. We'd love that's our worst case scenario. We'd love for that to be our worst case scenario versus being murdered. We're the only community that we literally have to, and it lines right up into the law on the consequences. We're the only community that have to fear, or should I say have to prepare or teach our children how to carry themselves when they go outside the house, if they're driving or whatever the case may be, to minimize or prevent them from being murdered if they get pulled over. Don't do anything. They show me one community that they have to literally teach their children when you're driving, right? We have the manual, the driving manual, but you have to add to it. We have to amend it for our community. Hey, when you're driving, if you get pulled over, keep your hands on the steering wheels. Don't move your hands off the steering wheels. Police officer come to your car, keep your hands on the steering wheel. Say yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. If they ask you to get your driver's license and registration, you say to the police officer, hey, officer, my driver's license is located over here. Is it okay for me to reach my hand over and get my driver's license? Or my insurance information is over here. Is it okay for me to reach over and get my insurance information? Now, officer, now that you gave me the okay, now I am moving my hand over to my glove. Come on now. What other group of people have to go through that with their children to this day? Come on, family. Come on, family. So, and their dead bodies shall lie in the streets of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt. So spiritually it's called Sodom, and spiritually it's called Egypt. And when you read the book of Tobit, right? Book of Tobit had to deal with this here. You had Tobit, who was going out, had dead bodies, that he literally had to bury of our ancestors. So, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Adonai was crucified. So, bring thee into Egypt means to be bound again by the spirit of Egypt. That's what it's referring to, the spirit of Egypt. So, the next point I want to highlight is the backbone. What was the backbone of the Egyptian army that was destroyed? What was their backbone? Well, their chariots and their horsemen were their backbone. So though the Egyptians were defeated, yet Israel continued to give life to the Egyptians' defeated spirit. Let me say that again. Even though the Egyptians were defeated, Israel continued to give life to the Egyptians' defeated spirit. So let's go back to Deuteronomy 28:68. Let's continue to walk this thing through. Let's walk this thing out. And Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. So let's deal with the no man shall buy you. Let's see what this word means. We see the Hebrew word, the ancient Hebrew word is quanah. Let's see what quanah means. Right? Quanah, right, means to purchase. It means to recover. It means to redeem, right? But let me give you clarity here. Let me give you clarity here so that way you can have an actual source. All right. So notice what it says here. Quanah. It means to erect. It means to procure. It means to, especially to purchase. By implication, to own, attain, buy, Notice what you see here as a key word, redeem. In the sub entry, it says to get, acquire, create, buy, possess. All right. So in scriptures, again, Egypt symbolizes the entire world, right? Just like Babylon, in certain scriptures is symbolizing the entire world. But when we look at Egypt, right, we know in that text is symbolizing the entire world system, the opposition. All the other nations are thrown right up under here. In the scriptures, Egypt symbolizes the entire world. we go to Exodus chapter 6, verse 6. It says, wherefore say unto the children of Israel, I am, and this is where we gain clarity for the word redeem. I am Yahweh, and I will bring you from under the burdens of the Egyptians. I will rid you out of their bondage. I will redeem you with a stretched out arm and with great judgment. So, and I will redeem you. Right. And here we also see another Hebrew word that transliterates with to redeem. Right. We see Gaal or Galah. Right. Yahweh Elohim said that he will redeem Galah or Ga'alah. Or excuse me, Ga'al. Some would say Ga'al or Galah. Right. This is where we see the word Gullah, which is a Hebrew word. Right. Means redeem. Okay. So Yahweh Elohim said that he will redeem, avenge, deliver, purchase, and provide a ransom for Israel with his outstretched arms. So when he says no man shall buy you, actually what he's saying is no man shall redeem you. Deuteronomy 28:68 is a prophecy that serves as a reminder that there is no salvation, no redemption in the system of man, in the system of our oppressors. And notice what this article says about black soldiers in the U.S. military during the Civil War. Notice what it says here. This is coming from archives.gov. Both the end of the Civil War, right? Notice what it says. By the end of the Civil War, roughly 179,000 black men, 10% of the Union Army, served as soldiers in the United States Army, and another 19,000 served in the Navy. Nearly 40,000 black soldiers died over the course of the war. 30,000 of infected or disease. Black soldiers served in artillery and infantry and performed all non-combatant support functions that sustained an army, like cleaning out dung. As well, black carpenters, chaplains, cooks, guards, laborers, nurses, scouts, spies, steamboat pilots, surgeons, and teamsters also contributed to the war cause. There were nearly 80 black commissioned officers, black women who could not formally join the army nonetheless, right? So it's giving us some information on this, right? About how we served during that time. And guess what? We were still enslaved. There was millions enslaved while we were serving in these armies. There was still a ton of us, over almost 500,000 slaves in the colonies during the Revolutionary War. What was President Lincoln's true position on slavery? We already know this, but notice this here. Slavery was an unqualified evil to the Negro. The white man, the state, said Abraham Lincoln in the 1850s, yet in his first inaugural address, Lincoln declared that he had no purpose, right, directly or indirectly, to interfere with slavery in the states where it existed. He reiterated this pledge in his first message to Congress on July 4th, 1861, when the Civil War was 3 months old. What explains this apparent inconsistency in Lincoln's statement? And how did he get from his pledge not to interfere with slavery to a decision a year later to issue the Emancipation? So what was President Lincoln's true thoughts about the Negroes? We already know this. I'm just giving you a little information. I got plenty more I can share. He says this: I will say then that I am not nor ever have been in favor of bringing about in any way the social and political equality of the white and black races. I am not nor ever have been in favor of making voters, so he didn't want us to vote, or jurors, didn't want us participate in the legal system, of Negroes, nor of qualifying them to hold office, nor to intermarry with white people. And I will say, in addition to this, that there is a physical difference between the white and black races, which I believe will forever forbid the two races living together on terms of social and political equality. He didn't want equality for our people. And in as much as they cannot so live, while they do remain together, there must be the position of, right, superior and inferior, and I as much as any of her man, of her here, right? I got to go back and make sure that this is not a typo, but he says, any here am in favor of having the superior position assigned to the white race. He's saying he want to make sure we remain inferior and that the position of superior, right, the superior position is always assigned to the white race. That's his own words. Our Republican system was meant to be a homogeneous people. He declared as long as the Negro continued to live with the whites, they would constitute a threat to the national life. Let me say that again. Negroes continue to live with the whites. As long as the Negroes continue to live with the whites, they would constitute a threat to the national life. Family life might also collapse, and the increase of mixed breed bastards might someday challenge the supremacy of the white man. So I want to make it clear, family, progression is not freedom. Still dealing with Deuteronomy 28:68, and I'm going somewhere with this. Progress is not freedom. Over 5,000 Negroes fought side by side with Caucasian soldiers with one goal, with one objective, with one purpose: freedom. During this time, there were over 450,000 Negroes enslaved in the 13 colonies. These soldiers were also promised what? 40 acres and a mule, which the government reneged on. If you study Savannah, it was Negroes that kept Savannah. It was Negroes that kept Georgia from being sacked. Negroes. We could talk about Haiti. That's why you see those statues of Christophe, for example, the drummer who went on to become a president, the first president of Haiti. You'll see those statues in front of First African Baptist Church, Savannah, Georgia. But we don't want to talk about that history. So here it is. And this is still tying into Deuteronomy 28:68, because I can guarantee you these Negroes that served in these armies, the reason why they did that was hoping to obtain their freedom. So they entered into agreements hoping that once they complete their service, they will be free. They will live as free men. Many of them had to return to slavery. Many of them did not get a pension. Many of them didn't get benefits after they retired. They didn't get any type of retirement benefits. They didn't get what was promised to them. But yet, this is still tying into Deuteronomy 28:68, entering into agreements, right? Redemption can only come through Yahweh. Yahweh Elohim's outstretched arms and his great judgment. Yah the Father is our Redeemer. Through Yah the Father, his son, the Hebrew Israelite Messiah, is the ransom. So the ransom comes from the primitive root word pod, right? The ransom, pod yan or padayan, comes from the primitive root word pod, which means to release, preserve, deliver, let be, redeemed. Okay, so when we go to Mark chapter 10, verse 45, this is going to confirm what I just pointed out. For even the Son of Man came not to be ministered unto, but to minister and give his life a ransom for many. Isaiah 53, right? 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 5 and 6. Notice what it says here. For there is one Elohim and one mediator between Elohim and men. The man is Christ, right? Really, actually, if we go further into this text, actually, it says one Elohim, but we're dealing with the Father, Yahweh, and one mediator between Elohim and men. The man is Christ, right? Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, who gave himself a ransom for all to be testified in due time. Isaiah 53, verse 5 and 6, I pointed this out. But he was wounded, halal, for our transgressions, right? Pashai or Pashai. He was bruised, daka or daka'ah, for our iniquities, right? In other words, bending, twisting the law, statutes, and commandments. The chastisements, wasar or masar, of our peace was upon him. And with his stripes, kabar or kabara, we are healed. Rapa or rapa'ah. Verse 6. All we like sheep, taza'an, or Sa'an, have gone astray. The I. We have turned everyone to his own way, and Yahweh hath laid on him the iniquity of us all, for the non-Messianics. So the consequences in Deuteronomy 28 is Yahweh Elohim's great judgment to a disobedient nation. When we go back to Deuteronomy 28, as you see here, and Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. So let's deal with this portion. You will offer yourselves for sale to your enemies, right? In an attempt to avoid the Most High, Yahweh Elohim's great judgment, Israel will attempt to enter into agreements with Egypt. We'll see it in the scriptures. Israel continued to try to enter into agreements, hoping to circumvent the judgment. And I'm going to show you this in scripture, but this continues to happen. Come on, family, we have to be real about it. I'm a military vet. I am a military vet. And I went into the military to ensure that I can make a better life moving forward for myself and for my future family. It was a form of salvation. And I had to deal with racism. I had to deal with a number of things within the military. Had an invention or application that I wrote, an application that I wrote that revolutionized the flying. I'll just leave it at that. How they keep flight data, right? Had it stolen from me, literally. Got the paperwork to prove it. But again, you'll work, you'll labor, you'll build this house, you do all these different things, but someone else would take credit for it. Didn't it happen to our ancestors for all the inventions that our ancestors done created that did not get credit for? So in an attempt to avoid Yahweh's great judgment, Israel will attempt to enter into agreements with Egypt. All right. So when we go to Isaiah chapter 30, verse 1 through 3, man, we could go to Jeremiah, right, and talk about this as well. Woe, Yahweh, to the rebels, was children, saith Yahweh. Let me say that again. Woe to the rebellious children, saith Yahweh, that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin, that walk to go down into Egypt. Notice this here. They want to go down to Egypt, right? Because they are fearful with the threat that is coming. They are fearful of the Assyrian threat. So the leaders went down into Egypt and have not asked at my mouth. In other words, not under the instructions of the Most High, to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh and to trust in the shadow of Egypt. Remember, shadow, because Egypt has no power. Remember why I pointed at. It said to trust in the shadow of Egypt. Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion. So Yahweh Elohim pronounced a woe, a strong warning of judgment on the rebellious people of Judah because they continue to refuse his help. Time and time again, they rejected Elohim and their hearts became hardened. A rebellious Judah formed an alliance with the very people that we had to be delivered from in captivity. Aren't we seeing that right now? The very people that's supposed to be our brothers and sisters are siding with the very people that have put us in captivity, that have made it clear that they don't care about us, that it will literally lie about us and have lied about us. Aren't we seeing this right now? A rebellious Judah formed an alliance with the Egyptians. That's what still dealing with Deuteronomy 28:68. Judah was facing a great threat by the Assyrians by the Assyrians. And so the leaders believed that the nation's only hope was to form an alliance with Egypt. Let me say it again. Judah was facing a great threat by Assyria, right? And so the leaders believed that the nation's only hope was to form an alliance with Egypt. So what is hope? Taqwa or Tikva in the Israeli? It says this. Well, actually, that's the wrong one. I said hope, right? Anyway, because here, this is the Hebrew word for hope, Taqwa, which is Tikva. Here I put Torah up here, or Tharawar, right, which means a precept, statute, decalogue, Pentateuch, right? So excuse me that I put the wrong one up here, but actually hope literally means a cord. Taqwa, right, literally means a cord. Hope simply means a lifeline, right? Let me see if I could change this slide real quick so I could put this source up here before I forget. All right, we getting there, family. We getting there. I know I'm giving you a lot of information, but hey, family, we're gonna make sure that you guys have proper clarity on what it means. And we're almost at the end here. Let me see here. Let me just fix this here. I don't like my slide to be out of whack like this. And I'm going to drop the link in a minute here. All right, let's see. Let me fix this slide real quick. All right. So that's why I was a little thrown off when I saw the wrong definition here. So let's fix this here. Let's change this to hope. Let's see here. All right. There we go. And let's change this backdrop here. Let me make sure that that's changed. Let's change the backdrop as well. All right. We're doing this on the fly, family. So I'm correcting the slide here as we speak. So let's look at the background, make sure that this background changes well. All right. All right. So there we have it. Let me do one more thing to it. Because I am when it comes to these presentations, I'm a, give a clean presentation. You can call me a perfectionist, but I like to make sure that my presentation is thorough, right? And how I present the sources. So let me do one more thing here. All right. Almost done. Okay. All right. I'm going to fix this slide. One more thing I want to do here. And let me fix this here. All right. All right. We're good. And let me fix this here. And that should do it. And then I'll bring up the full definition here. All right, there we have it. All right, we got it fixed here, family. So let me give you the definition here. So that's what should be there. It was the wrong word here. But as you see here, hope, taqwa, or tikva, right? It means a cord. As you see, literally a cord. It says expectancy, right? Expectation. All right. So it gives some example here. Hope, live, thing that I hope for. All right. But again, it literally means a cord. Also means expectation, expectancy. All right. So my apologies for the error. All right. So again, hope literally means a cord. Hope simply means lifeline when we make it practical here, when we bring it up to the now. And this is what a lifeline is. A thing on which someone or something depends or provides a means of escape from a difficult situation, right? A rope or a line used for life-saving, typically one thrown to rescue someone in difficulties in water, or one used by sailors to secure themselves to a boat. So stand and rejoice, cheer up, Be glad, have joy while holding on to your lifeline. I'll say it again. Stand, rejoice, cheer up, be glad, have joy while holding on to your lifeline. So we already see that Israel in Isaiah chapter 30 decided to enter into an agreement, make an attempt to enter into an agreement. The leaders went down to Egypt in order to circumvent the judgment. But notice here, verse 30, chapter 31. Woe to them that go down to Egypt for help and stay on horses and trust in their chariots. Now, here it is. The Egyptians, their special forces grew back. They were able to rebuild their special forces. So now Israel is now trying to find safety in the very people that had them oppressed, that the Most High had to pull them out from. That the Pasach, is a reminder of how the Most High had to deliver them from these people, and yet they want to enter into an agreement with them, circumventing judgment. Thus, this is an example of Deuteronomy 28:68, which is a perpetual passage, a consequence, right? Woe to them that go down to Egypt for help and stay on horses and trust in the chariots, because they are many, and in horsemen, because they are very strong. But they look not unto the Holy One of Israel, neither seek Yahweh. They didn't decide to go to the prophet. They went to they did what they wanted to do. They did what was right in their own eyes. Yet he also is wise and will bring evil and will not call back his words, but will arise against the house of evil of the evildoers and against the help of them that work iniquity. So he's bringing judgment to the Egyptians, but also to the Israelites. So Judah's hope was not to be found in the military might of Egypt, but rather in the power of Yah. So what was the backbone of the Egyptian army Yah destroyed? We pointed that out, right, in Exodus chapter 14. Their chariots and their horsemen. So now Israel is seeking salvation from the Egyptians because of their special forces. So Israel is seeking salvation by going back to Egypt, going back into bondage. Isaiah 31 verse 3 says this. Now the Egyptians are men, right? Are men. Adam are men and not Elohim. Yours translation will say God, right? Egyptians are men and not Elohims or deities or gods, and their horses flesh and not spirit. When Yahweh shall stretch out his hands, both he that helpeth shall fall, and he that hoping shall fall down, and they all shall fail together. So this is an example of no man will buy you. No man can redeem you, regardless of what agreements you try to come up with. Our ancestors, again, when we start looking at what happened at the Revolutionary War, guess what? We, offered our services. Look what happened with the Civil War with the North and the South. We offered our services, right? We entered into agreements to fight for this country, some for the North, some for the South. But guess what? Still ended up going back into slavery. Look, and even after slavery, look at what we had happen afterwards. We had the antebellum. When we start looking at that, the sharecropping, we look at all the Jim Crow laws that was created off of that and still dealing with. Look at all the lynchings that was going on. No man shall redeem you. Those are examples of what Deuteronomy 28 verse 6 is referring to. So now the Egyptians are men. They are not Yahweh. They are not our Yahweh Elohim. They are not gods. They are not deities. Israel had to be reminded not to worship and idolize the Egyptians, right? The etymology now, we already know what that means. Now at the present, immediately, now that. So in the immediate, that present time, and still now. So Judah had to be reminded of their past and their present and their now. Judah had to be reminded that in this present time, immediately, the Egyptians are simply men. There's nothing special about them, and they are not Yah. They are not our Yahweh Elohim. They are not anything. They have nothing that they could do for us. right? Ezekiel chapter 30, verse 21, verse 23 is going to reiterate how Egypt has no power, but the power we give it. Son of man, I have broken Shabar, the arms, Zarawai, right? Or Zarawaiah of Pharaoh, Para'ah, right? King of Egypt. And lo, it shall not be bound. Chashab, or excuse me, Kabash, up to be healed, right? Rapa'ah wath, to put a roller to bind it, to make it a stronghold, to make it strong to hold his sword. Let me read it again. Son of man, I have broken the arms of Pharaoh. So that means Pharaoh has no power. Son of man, I have broken the arms of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And lo, it shall be bound up to be healed, to put a roller to bind it, to make it strong to hold the sword. So saying no matter how much many will try to make them strong, guess what? All these different things trying to make that arm strong, no power. It says it, therefore, thus saith Yahweh Elohim, behold, I am against Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and will break his arms with strong, it says, break his arms, the strong and that which was broken, and I will cause the sword to fall out his hand. So what this is telling us, even if Pharaoh's arm, right, it's healed, repaired, Most High said, I will break it again. So this is telling us Egypt has no power, but the power we give it. Let me say that again. Egypt has no power, thus still confirming what the Most High, the promise the Most High made to Israel in Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 and 14, where what I read, fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today, they will not have power over you again. So therefore, we're dealing with a spiritual Egypt when we get to Deuteronomy 28:68, because the Most High will be breaking his promise if he allowed Egypt to have that power again over Israel. So we're not dealing with that community. We're dealing with a confederate of people, 83rd book of Psalms. Therefore saith Yahweh Elohim, behold, I am against Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and will break his arms, the strong and that which was broken, and I will cause the sword to fall out of his hand. But it goes on to say the last verse, verse 23, and I will scatter the Egyptians among the nations. Wait a minute. I will scatter the Egyptians among the nations and will disperse them through the countries. So Israel, the Egyptians got scattered too, right? They got scattered, not to the four corners, but they got scattered too. No coincidence, we see Turks occupying that area because many of the Egyptians fled further deeper into Africa. I will scatter the Egyptians among the nations and will disperse them through the country. So Egypt, the nation's existence was not to be blotted out, right? But their control and authority over Israel was to be removed forever, as I highlighted earlier. Egypt's reputation is connected to Israel because they had Israel bound. Going back to Deuteronomy 28:68, Yahweh will send you back in ships to Egypt on a journey. I said you should never make again. There you will offer yourselves for sale to your enemies as male and female slaves, but no one will buy you. So you will offer yourselves for sale to your enemies as indentured servitude servants, right? That's what you're dealing with, indentured servants, right? We see, man, I could go into this. I'm not gonna go too deep into this because this is still a lot more that I don't want to really get into. But again, when we deal with ships, this is vessels, right? When we look at all the captivities, the Most High allowed Israel to be led into captivity. And if we want to take this literal about in ships, you can't deny the transatlantic world war in which the Jewish community, as we know them, owned a lot of these ships. They owned these ports. They played a vital role in the transatlantic slave trade. So that's why it's ironic when many from Christianity, many from Judaism, trying to denounce and try to interpret this text here to say, oh, no, we're not saying on ships. Where's the ships going back to Egypt? No, we can still prove, even just this prophecy alone, that there were vessels, there were ships. You can't get around it. You can't get around it. Unfortunately, some will come up with bogus examples of saying, well, other nations, the Asians had to deal with. No other community had to deal with this, what we were subjected to. Asians had our people enslaved. Every country around this world had our people as slaves. Look it up. If you want to talk about the Indians in India, you'll see that they had us part of that. Starting with the sub-Saharan slave trade, they were sending our ancestors across that what is now called the Indian Ocean. Come on, family, we can't get away from it. All right, let me see what else we have left here. Then I'm gonna drop the link. Yeah, I don't want to deal with this Irish stuff. That's why I wanted to. Yeah. So closing this out, and these are just some examples here of some of this our ancestors dealing with chattel slavery, right? That's what this is dealing with. Actually, let me go here. This is what I mentioned earlier with Deuteronomy, Exodus chapter 21, verse 2, when it was dealing with indentured servitude. But this is also when you go further down to verse 15, either 15 or 16, you'll see it dealing with chattel slavery. So up until that point, you'll see indentured servitude. But when you get down to like verse 15, verse 16, is dealing with chattel slavery. All right. And this is giving you examples of how our ancestors were dealt with. It wasn't indentured servitude. So again, to sum all of this up, you will offer yourselves for sale to your enemies as indentured servants. You'll enter in all kinds of agreements to try to circumvent the judgment, but no one will buy you. No one will redeem you, family. And that's it for this presentation. I know I gave you a lot of information, could have gone more, but that's it for this presentation. And I hope this helps you guys. I hope this gives you clarity to make sure that when we understand history, this is the right history that we need to talk about. Again, and I see someone made a comment about Esau. Let me just knock that down real quick. Because unfortunately, this is the stuff that we still have to deal with on a regular basis. When many try to teach that Israel, or it's not Israel, but Esau is the Caucasian, he is the white man and all this. So if that's the case, then where's Japheth? If that's the case, you're saying that the Edomites, as far as the Caucasians rather, are connected to Israel. They're Hebrews, right? Because Esau's descendants are Hebrews. Esau was a Hebrew. Not an Israelite, but he was an Hebrew. All right, so let me deal with this real quick. Right, since I see it inside the chat. All right, let me see something here. All right, the Martian Messiah. Let me see here. All right, bear with me 1 second. Because these are some of the lies that, and I'm going to call it like it is. These are the lies that many are teaching, wanting to come up with this nonsense of trying to come up with this, teach this foolishness that, hey, ruddy means transliterates to being a Caucasian. That's an absolute lie. And I'm going to say it, and whoever get offended by it, so be it. I'm not trying to make you happy. Any ones that are trying to purposely lie to our people. So let me go ahead and put this up. Let me put this up. All right. Let me share this. All right. Let me stop this one. Stop. All right. Wrong one. Let me share this presentation. let's knock down this Esau being Caucasian stuff, because many in the church are teaching this nonsense, are trying to prove that ruddy means white, which it doesn't. All right, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? All right, here we go. All right, so let's get to ruddy. Let's get to ruddy. And this full presentation is in the one of my teachings, foundational teachings. So let's start here, right? Let's go to the Webster Unabridged Dictionary, 1913, and let's see what they say about ruddy. Let me maximize this here. And family, let's not make it into more than what it is. You know, many would try to make this out to be like, for example, David having red, you know, like looking like Malcolm X, you know, and red hair. That's not what this text is saying. There's no definition that's going to say that ruddy looks like someone that's light skinned with red hair. You know, that's not what this means. You will not see that within the scriptures. So let's see what ruddy means. Webster Unabridged Dictionary, 1913. Here's the definition of ruddy. And Sister Carol can vouch for this too from a medical perspective, right? And this is what I want to highlight. Entry number 2, of a lively flesh color or the color of human skin in high health. So all this is saying is ruddy is ruddy is actually describing human skin in high health, not a redneck like we come to see today, right? So Genesis 25:25, and the first came out red, right? This is dealing with Esau, right? Adamawanai, right? Or Adamni, all over like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau, Ashar. So was Esau the white man? No. The International Standard Bible Encyclopedia, right? 1915, right? Here's what it says. Come on, family. We gotta continue to teach with clarity, right? Notice what it says here. Ruddy is the form taken by the adjective red when used as a term of praise of human skin. And this is its use in the Bible. Hebrew and Greek words are all usual for words for red or to be red. But here's the kicker. The dark-skinned Hebrews found great beauty in a clear complexion. Let me read it again. Ruddy is the form taken by the adjective red when used as a term of praise of the human skin. This is not saying that Esau was a white man or Esau was a light skin. It's just saying that when you see it's describing his skin and how he was hairy, it's making it clear that Esau had beautiful skin. There was nothing wrong with his skin, right? Let me say that again. There was nothing wrong with his skin, right? Let me say that again. There is nothing wrong with his skin. Someone asked the question, if David was ruddy, what about his brothers? They don't mention them. Why? Because David was the one that was anointed. The attention was put on David. David was young. He was basically 15 years old. The point of emphasis was placed on David. That's why the Most High said to King Solomon, to the prophet Samuel, he said, don't put emphasis on how he looked. Right? So ruddy does not mean when you see Adamah or Adamawanai, right? It's not saying that David was red. Doesn't say David was light skinned. It's not what, and sometimes we can continue to perpetuate some of the lies, right? It's not saying that David was light skinned. All right. So that's why I just want to give clarity on this. You guys can take it however you want to take it, but I appreciate the question, yeah, son. But just want to give clarity that the point of emphasis is placed on David because David was the youngest. Of course, David would not be the one that they're going to really grab the prophet's attention. That's why the Most High said, don't get caught up with his outward appearance, right? Because he was the youngest out of all of them. He was the youngest out of all of them. So again, so are you saying that Esau today, I'm going to have to do a full teaching on it. Are you saying that Esau in today's white man is not one of the same? And I'm going to say absolutely. Esau, there's not a single prophecy that says Esau is going to be absorbed by the other nations. Esau still exists. If you research research over there in Africa, there's dark melanated people making it clear that they're descendants of Esau. Did some of Esau marry other nations? Yeah. But the key is the descendants of Esau began to do what? They began to enter into agreements to undermine Israel. See, when Rome invaded Jerusalem, they cleared all of them out. But Esau believed in the Most High. Esau had his own form of what? Worship of the Most High, because he knew the Most High by name. We could prove that there was Edomites in the temple because King Herod was an Edomite. Most of the Sanhedrin were Edomites. That's a fact. They were Edomites. They looked just like Israelites. The Romans couldn't tell the Edomite from an Israelite. And when you study the time of the Maccabees, the king of Judah allowed the Edomites to start dwelling among them. So, family, you can believe what you want to believe. History is what it is. And if we're not careful, right, if we're not careful, we can start perpetuating a lot of these lies that are, indirectly, because I'm not saying many of you guys are doing it intentionally, but if we're not careful, we can start indirectly supporting the very delusion. All right. So I just want to give clarity, family. I'm not trying to, come at anyone. I'm not trying to embarrass anyone. I just want to make sure we have proper clarity on what this word means. All right. Just so that way we can, we understand we putting the text in its proper place. Because remember, Gehazi, right? Elijah's servant, his entire bloodline was cursed with leprosy. In other words, what we would call today albinism. No pigmentation. So is that the origins of the white man? No, we see these countries, their origins, right? I mean, identified right up under Japheth. All right. So just like Israelites, many Israelites mixed and meshed with other nations. Right. But again, there's still us here. Esau did the same thing. And I'm not saying Esau, many of them didn't mix with and mesh with other groups, but not all of Esau's descendants were completely wiped away. But again, family, I really appreciate it. I know we gave I went over a lot here. I'm going to drop the link real quick and we'll get ready to wrap it up. I know we covered a lot in this lesson here, but I hope this helps you guys to get proper clarity on what the scripture says as far as in terms of what it means, the Deuteronomy 28:68. All right. Let me address one more thing here since we are on a roll. All right, let's address something here if I have time. But I dropped the link here for anyone that want to jump on real quick. And I just ask just to keep your comments simple. Let's not, really make it into a lengthy conversation because I really don't want to take away from what was actually taught tonight. Let's keep our conversations confined, to what was taught tonight. All right. But let me see something here. Let me see here. I think it's in this one right here. What I'm trying to pull up here. All right. Let me see if it's here. Yeah. I want to pull something up here real quick. All right. Let's see here. I see my sister here. Sister Carol, how's it going, sis?
Man, why weren't you on that debate? That's all I have to say. You should have been on that debate. I know some of the people in the chat know what I'm talking about because mention it. But all you talking about tonight, they discussed in that quote unquote debate. And the pathetic thing about it is the other person never used any type of resource to prove the point of who they were, or rather, basically telling us who we're not. And just like someone's asking me in the chat right now, well, where the white people come from, you have to go back through the Genesis 10. That genealogy is there for a reason. It's for us to find out who is everybody on this planet, and you have to map it out for yourself. Nobody can do that for you. You have to do it for yourself. You have to get a map, an old map. Take those verses and those scriptures in chapter 10 and identify those locations of where those people are. And that will give you the clue who is who on this planet, and drill it down. Follow it through the scripture, and because the genealogy goes throughout the scripture, all the way to Christ, and let you know the bloodline. And all this is about is the bloodline. Who was against who was for who. And once you identify and understand that, all this makes sense. But you have to do your own study. We can't do the study for you. You have to crack open the book like I have done, like Pastor Kelly has done, my bro here. And you got to do your own work. We can't just feed it to you. You got to get and go to the grocery store and get your own groceries and cook your own food. You can't drive through McDonald's and get some fast food. You got to do the work. Period.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, so many, no matter how many resources you pull, many still want to be spoon fed. They'll
Absolutely.
still ask questions like, hey, I just want to know a straight answer. Why can't you give me a straight answer? I'm giving you a straight answer. Here's the source. Go to the source and read the source. I gave you the page numbers, but you want me to give all right, answer the question. I answered the question with sources. But we see that
Right.
happening a lot. And the same problem we see that's happening when we were in the church, how most people don't read. Most people just depend on what the pastor say. You know, whatever the pastor say, that's what they roll with. They don't check to see if he or she is using the scriptures in the proper context. You know, they just roll with it. You know, and I mean, we see the same in this awakening. I'm not saying all, but we see this within this awakening. Yeah, that's doing the same thing. And the whole purpose of sharing all these sources is just so that way people can, you know, do their own due diligence. You know what I mean? You know, it give clarity of what we do.
Correct.
Bear with me 1 second, sis. I got Yacoba. I got Don P. My brother Yacoba, I'm going to go ahead and give you the floor here.
Hey, Pastor Kelly, how y'all doing? Hey, fam.
Doing great. Yourself?
Doing good. So Pastor Kelly, what you thought about that whole thing? Because I thought the whole debate was, I thought they believed they were getting a high school dropout, and I think he did better than they thought he would. Not that, you know, I believe in the 12 tribes chart, but what was your thoughts on that whole thing?
Yeah, just because I went and watched it earlier yesterday. Someone told me about it, so because I haven't really been keeping up with all this stuff going on, and I thought that what's his name? Let me mute someone else here. Someone else is in the background. But I thought that Gorilla Hebrew, he did a great job of presenting his information. He did a great job. You can't get around it. did a great job. He didn't get caught up with some of the comments that was made because when I listened to it, I was like, "What in the world? What did he just say?" Calling him a racist and bringing up the anti-Semitic stuff, and saying that we are the ones that are pushing it. It was some insults that was thrown there that was unnecessary. But I will say that he did a great job at presenting his information. And again, even though we could talk about the 12 tribe chart. I really, like you, I don't support it, but at the same time, we cannot deny that, hey, there was Israelites already here before, you know what I mean? The trade, we can prove that Israelites have been scattered, but to say that all of, give the impression that all of Mexico are Israelites. You know what I mean?
And
All the
Aztecs.
Native Americans are Israelites, or all the Puerto Ricans are this tribe. When you get into that, then it opens you up for a lot of scrutiny. So I agree with you, but I thought that he did a great job of presenting his sources. I mean, I didn't see any sources being presented on the other end.
Exactly. And then he tried to say it was ancient Egypt, that they would be taken in the ships too, and all this stuff. He was like, there's no way in there where it was used as bondage. Well, yes, there is. I mean, you could tell he hasn't done any research. I mean, if it was you or I going up against him, he would have looked worse than he did with Gorilla.
Well, and I think that the reason why Gorilla Hebrew was picked, because I think that they underestimated him.
They did.
Because Gorilla Hebrew is on side other channels debating.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's new with debating. And I think that he was underestimated. I think that it was viewed that, hey, he's a camp, he's part of the camps, and they don't know this and they don't know that. And I think that he got a rude awakening. He wasn't expecting for the sources to come out, and Gorilla Hebrew did a great job at going at the argument that he knew, the strongest argument.
Yeah.
He took that right off the table right at the beginning by having them acknowledge that, hey, there's Spanish Hebrews, there's Black Hebrews, you know what I mean? So he kind of took that off the table, his strongest argument off the table, and you can see moving forward, it kind of threw him off.
And did you notice, Pastor Kelly, that Brown admits, he said, well, there was approximately like 200,000 who may have made it over here who were Israelites. I'm like, okay, where you get that number from? You just threw that out the air? Okay, so you admit that some of them were Israelites. So, okay, what are we arguing about? You admit the Limba are Israelites. What are we arguing about? Whether or not we are, we can prove it. Even our DNA, it goes back to them. So what's your point? Right?
Yeah. So I thought that Gorilla Hebrew did a great job.
Yeah, he did.
I also, when he was asked about Egypt, I mean, far as actually slavery, about according to the curses, he brought up Egypt. I'm like, Egypt? Okay, give me some modern stuff. It's easy to say Egypt. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
He gave Fiddler on the Roof.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute, Egypt.
When he said Fiddler on the Roof, I was done.
I was like, wait a minute, you had other captivities, other enslavements in the scriptures.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother can of worms when you start looking at where many of the Israel bones were pulled at.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So that's why I believe that many of those that bring up or say that they were enslaved in Egypt and bypass all the other stuff, because they know they know that there's a lot of information that proves that the Northern Kingdom was brothers and sisters that look like you and I.
Exactly. And how did he try to sidestep Onkelos? I'm like, he did not disprove that the Ashkenaz are descendants of Onkelos. I'm like, their own texts say that. So, it really was poor, because I mean, you would expect a better debate from somebody who supposedly has a PhD, but I mean, Gorilla destroyed him.
Yeah. So I tell you, it's just a lot of craziness out here. When I listened to it, I was like, wow. It's some of the things that he was putting out there. I was like, wow, calling us basically a hate group, saying that we're anti-Semitic. Yeah, he basically said that. He said anti-Semitism is at an all-time high, and it's
It's because we claim to be Israel. That's why, and we say they're not.
Exactly.
please stay on the whole. Jacoba, please stay on the whole time of this discussion because we're gonna talk about some stuff that you're gonna need the commentary on. Pastor Kelly, thank you for allowing me to say that.
And 1 second here, I see Emery Ezekiel.
Yeah, that's me.
All right. Anything you want to share?
Yeah, like I just want to say that Yah, he's pretty clear on who Esau is, and even more than you realize. And it deals with the 666, and it is so the 666 is so dangerous, that he's not even using parables in some cases. Like from what I can tell from reading the book of Isaiah and some with the prophecies of Arabia and all that, he's saying without a doubt that Esau is Saudi Arabia, and that's where the 666 will come from, because every time he talks about obliterating Edom, he mentions cities that are in Arabia, and it just boggles my mind that people are stuck on this Esau being the white man thing when God is being straightforward. It's almost like Blue's Clues level of you seen that show Blue's Clues, right? Nick Jr., those little baby shows. That's how easy Yah's made this, because like when people think, oh, the 666, they think it's how it's written in English, but what language did John write out 666? When he was writing out, what language did he write it out in? I'll tell you, he wrote it out in Greek. Okay, and where have we seen that mark before? It's in the name of Allah. If you look at in the name of Allah in Arabic, they look exactly alike. In the name of Allah looks exactly like the 666 in Greek. And the Muslims, even right now, they're wearing it on their hand and they're wearing it on their forehead.
Just real quick,
it amazes me how easy he made this. It's open and shut. There goes your 666. It's right there. It's
just real quick,
an RFID chip. There you go, right there. Shut that down quickly.
Yeah, can you hear me? Just real quick. And I understand what you're mentioning, but when you understand the word Allah, Allah actually, that word existed before Arabic became a written language, because it comes from the Syriac language, right? So Allah, when you study the Semitic languages, Allah is equivalent to, even though you hear me say Allah, Allah Yam, or Allah in Aramaic, right? It's the pronunciation. So Allah, I hear what you're saying, and I think that's a whole nother discussion we can have. But when we use that word Allah, the actual goddess that the Muslim worship, it was a goddess. Her name was Allat.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah, it was Allat. So Allah is just a simple in Arabic transliteration to
but
God.
I think what it is God is being. I mean, well, Yah's being straightforward with us with this, without a doubt.
Brother,
I know. I've heard about
what you don't want to do is this. You don't want to run in error, and this is what Pastor's trying to tell you. Slow down.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Because you're running in error. You're running in something that sounds good. But let seasoned men give direction to your passion. Your passion is awesome. Your passion is awesome. We should all be on fire for the Most High Yah. But let us run in wisdom. This is why you have people like Pastor Kelly.
Okay.
You came up onto Pastor Kelly's platform or into his assembly, if you will, because this man has wisdom. So allow wisdom to season your zeal so that it can be used to flavor what the Most High is cooking up.
Okay, yeah, this is my first
I
time.
love you.
I
I love you,
apologize.
sir. And that's why, no, there's no apologies necessary. The Most High loves your zeal,
Mhm.
but understand order, understand order. And it wasn't that you were out of order. You weren't out of order. I just wanted, to put some water onto your seasoning so it could simmer based on what the pastor was cooking up.
Okay,
And that's all.
okay, thank you, sir.
I appreciate it. And uh, now that we, been that you mentioned, you stepped out to Don. What's your thoughts? And Yakoba, feel free to jump in, and Sister Carol. What's your guys' thoughts about again what happened, what occurred on that debate, and then also what we're talking about tonight? The crazy teachings we've heard about Deuteronomy 28:68 and how it's trying to be used, or how they attempt to use, to say that we're not, but then they can't put it in this proper perspective, give proper clarity.
Well, for me, I think the whole I don't think Dr. Brown really looked at the information and really studied those scriptures. And they were also saying things like, well, did all of those curses apply to you individually? But all of the curses is on us as a nation. And we can prove all of those curses on us as a nation. And that's what he fails to realize, right? And so I think he was just doing a lot of gaslighting personally.
Yes.
For those who are not well informed. Israel's been through these scriptures, so they didn't fall for it. But the Christians, they don't know anything, so they'll just easily go with anything he say because he got 3 letters behind his name.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
they reference to that too, because they were hoping by him being a scholar, a professor of a university with a PhD, that he would have more substance to come against a street person or a person who they deem is uneducated. And to his surprise, he didn't get that. He wasn't expecting to be whipped with the very book that he talks against. So, and what he did was do a lot of filibustering, installing time and saying trigger words to incite people, to get them, because he knows that we're emotional people. So when you say certain trigger words, he was hoping that he would come unglued and attack him, and he did not do that. However, he attacked him by saying all type of derogatory things, saying things about Haitians. And this guy is from Haiti, is Haitian. So I thought that was a playbook item that he used in his tactics, because he presented nothing, not a book. Only thing he showed was a piece of paper about some genetic information
yeah.
that nobody could read, that only he could read, which could have been, he could have wrote anything on there. He could have had tic-tac-toe on there. We would never have known. But it was insulting to me. He wasn't
Pastor,
worth the
man,
debate. No
Good,
scholar
good.
at all.
I didn't mean to cut the sister off. I was like, Pastor, may I? Because I come from a whole other different school of thought. My communities are Teo, which I consider, your ministry, and some people take insult to it. And it's not to be insulted. It's how I was introduced to people. So I look at everybody that I got introduced to through the Teo ministry as the Teo community. I'm FOPE, and I got introduced to the FOPE community through TCA, which is in, the UK. So my streets are vast, and anyone who makes sense that lines up with the word under my understanding, guess what? That's my community. These folks, let me tell you something. These folks will never, this was strategic. If y'all don't understand how COINTELPRO works, and I know everybody that's on live right now knows how COINTELPRO works. What did they go after? The weakest link. Now, they got organizations within that whole bound that calls themselves camps. They're paid operatives. But let me go into the world and embarrass this individual. And I got a couple different strategic booby traps. One, you're not Yasharel. I got that one. Two, you're gonna work off of the charts. See, they understand everything that's false because they're false. And I made a comment on I can't remember which one it was, but it was like two false, two fakes contending for our throne.
Well, I'll say
The
this, Don.
problem is the problem is this with Gorilla is this because they will not none of them will debate us because we will demolish them. None of them will debate us, and that's why Brown went over there because Brown won't deal with us. We'll demolish him because we're not charts. We're not chartianity. We're straight up
Well,
about
I'll
the
say this,
real.
Don. Hey, Don, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you,
And
Doc.
this is what I say, and this is my thoughts. Even though I definitely don't agree with a lot of what the camps are teaching, I don't deal with the One West and all that. But for me, I'd just rather focus on the arguments that was presented. Because
He did a good
when it was
job.
all
He
said
did
and
a great
done,
job.
yeah, because when it's all said and done, um, they are still being lumped with all of us, right? Because a lot of what they're teaching when it comes to identity, we're teaching, and I think
Right.
that I just don't want to, that
No,
what you
he did
brought
a
up is
great
a whole nother
job, man, on
discussion.
scripture.
So I'd rather just let's focus on, all right, the discussion itself, because for me, he did a great job with presenting his information. He did a great job, and what it did was exposed a bigger issue because what I heard Professor Brown doing, he was actually still representing an overall community and pushing on those that was listening a lot of the things that are being targeted, our community being targeted of anti-Semitism. That's what I heard from all of that. He was
Correct.
using that
Hey,
as an
Doc. Hey,
opportunity to push certain things that's still part of the things that the ADL is teaching and pushing about our community with that. So I just want to focus on those things because again, uh, yeah, we could go into uh, dealing with the different disagreements that we have within our community, but for now, when it was all said and done, our community, all of us were being on trial, so to speak, in that debate.
Correct.
yeah, no, yeah. The enemy of my enemy is my ally. We can deal with that other stuff on the back part. So I 100% agree with you. He destroyed him with scripture, and I love that. He destroyed him with the word. Love it.
Pastor Kelly, can you move your slide over so everybody can see who's talking on the screen?
Oh, I'm sorry, because that's a habit of mine of doing this. Because
Right.
remember, someone jumped on and tried to
Right.
show some obscenity.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, I got you.
Oh, we
yeah.
had
So
that. We had that on Sister Demetria's channel. Oh my goodness, my brain is still not recovered from that.
yeah, and it actually happened on Ashonda's computer channel as well. Someone tried that here, but just so happened I had this set up the way that I set it up,
Right. So you
and
can
I
see.
just kicked
Right.
them out.
Okay,
Right.
got you.
So
That
I
makes
could
sense.
do it this way. As long as you guys are safe, you guys if your cameras do come on, you know what I mean, unexpectedly, we won't see anything exposed, right? So,
No.
Yeah, well,
but Yakob,
everybody who's on here. You know everybody who's on here, and Yakoba, man, we need some more. But I'm expecting to get some more teaching from you, brother.
Some more what?
Teaching.
What you said? Teachings?
Teaching.
Oh yeah, it's coming.
So yeah, Jacoba. So what were some of the other things that stood out? And like I said, this lesson here, like I said, just some of the things that you hear circulating about the Deuteronomy 28,
Mm-hmm.
and like I said, when the question got asked to go through the curses, right? You saw that wasn't done. It went through the same rigmarole, like, oh, we had to go through Egypt, and hey, you know what, Israel's
Yes.
under attack, and
He discussed all of that.
anti-Semitism, and
Mm-hmm.
the Holocaust, but and hey, you know what,
Deliverers.
in the way that it was being painted is, hey, we're dealing with all this opposition, including you guys. That's how it
Right.
came off to me.
Yes. That was the triggering words that he was trying to push out. You guys are the ones who's causing this anti-Semitism issue without saying it.
Well, because we admit we the people, we're anti-Semites, right?
That's it.
I mean,
Absolutely.
the whole thing is this, right? He couldn't defend his position. He
At
felt
all.
some kind of way, right? And so all they do is ad hominem attacks when you can't defend your position, right? So what did they go to? They say you're anti-Semite. I'm like, we don't even care about that like that. We waiting for the Messiah to come back. All that's gonna be handled. We ain't hating on nobody. We ain't got time to hate on nobody. But he couldn't defend his position. And here's the other thing that gets me. So he talks about the Mizrahi Jews and all these other people. And they say we all Jews and we've been around for such a long time. We can obviously prove, okay, from a bloodline perspective, we all not the same. Let's be honest. Let's not be crazy about it. From a bloodline perspective, there is an impossibility for having Chinese and Caucasian and Middle Eastern and all these different type of people with no blood ties, right? And to say we from the same family, it's impossible. Let's be real. So if it comes down to it, it comes down to a religion. Okay, I'll admit some of y'all may have been there during the Second Temple period, and y'all could have been there hanging out with Esau. Some of y'all might have been Edomites, hanging there out there because we know Herod was running things and Herod had a relationship with Rome. Okay, let's admit that. You got a huge conversion that happened with Onkelos and them being Romans. They admit that. So I'll give you that. Some of them people came in. We know what happened with Esther and the Assyrians, right? Conversion. Okay, we'll give you that. But we're saying with the bloodline. Let's leave it at that. Because they admit
even with the conversion,
but somebody
right?
can have a.
Hold
Somebody
on
can
one
have
second,
a.
Don. Hey, Don, real quick. Hold on
Oh,
one
I'm sorry,
second.
Doc. Go ahead, Doc.
So even when we look at conversions, right? Israel always kept an account of who was the converted. Those who are not bloodline. When you look at, when you look at, what's that? Numbers. When you look at Chronicles, when you look at everywhere where they give lineage, right? They always, and even in Ezekiel, you see that there was still a distinction between those who were blood descendants and those who were not blood descendants.
Exactly.
Those who converted over were not treated, were not told that they were blood descendants of Israel. They were still called sons of strangers.
That's it.
So,
but they can also admit though they got a long history going back to like the 12th and 13th century of being Israelites. I'm saying, okay, well, probably converts though, right? You already said that, and even some of their writings, they ignore some of the writings and they think we don't read them. That say they converts, right? So I'm like, ain't nobody hating. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, and even some of that is suspect. You know what I mean?
True that.
Some of the claims. I mean,
Right.
So even the thing of DNA, and see that's why I didn't really get caught up in some of the questions that they tried to ask. He tried to ask Gorilla Hebrew about the DNA, because Gorilla Hebrew made it clear he don't really roll with that, but he gave enough information to knock that down. Some of the things that he brought down. So, but for me, from the DNA aspect, we got sources, their own sources, saying that they are 99% European. You can't get around that. So that means best case scenario, 1% wherever they're trying to target. So if you're 99% European, so you're basing off your Israel off of that 1% that you're saying. And we got plenty of sources, just what you pointed out, genetic distances explaining why you have all these different variations, all these different haplogroups and all of this under one group. It's because it's conversion. All of that is conversion.
Exactly.
So let me say this. Cuz is doing an awesome job, and I'm loving his productions. He's just bringing it. But I already got educated from TCA about Black Europe. I mean, there is nothing that hasn't been revealed. You just got to know, you know what? Running the right neighborhoods. I run in the right neighborhoods. I run in the right neighborhoods of Teo, TCA, uh, 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 folk. I run in the right neighborhoods. Guess what? The dissemination of the information to my satellite, I don't have to deal with no foolishness because the way that Brown structured his whole argument was based around foolishness because he understood the methodology of the organization that he was going to come up against. And he also understood who his opponent was. And he could attack them from several different levels, but treading lightly on the landmines, which would blow up their whole thing.
Say, Brother Don, can I say something right quick?
Yeah, because you're cold always.
So Pensy Lola Yah says, I cussed some woman out. She ran to Moray Brown. I ain't never cussed no woman out. She lying on me right there. Just letting y'all know she lying. And then this woman about to commit suicide. You're gonna be struck down for that one.
Come on now. If she's saying stuff like that, she don't know you. She really don't know you. You're a brother that's about truth, but also a brother that's about love. And he'll tell you about yourself in love. And the thing about it is, if you gonna go and do yourself over that, then guess what? The spirit of the Most High is far from you, because Hasatan is the one that's gonna tell you to destroy yourself. So if you are having those thoughts, that don't come from the Most High, and it definitely don't come from any of these men. These are men that are talking to you right now. These are men of the Most High, and He has given them their place to speak what say the Most High Yah in this hour.
Send me that link, Pensy Lola. Send me that link, because you're a liar.
Well, let me say this, because this is where you know, how can I say it, how others don't respect our community, because we're dealing with us, you know, those that are coming against our community outwardly, right, outside of the community, coming at us. But now we're bringing up stuff that I think that, I mean, this is the first time I'm even hearing of any of this stuff. You know what I mean? You know, if there's a concern, if you feel like there's a concern, you know, Teo Ministry has an email address. And I would rather that you forward whatever you say you have to him so he can review it versus cause this type of, you know, unnecessary conversation when we're focusing on something completely different. If you have something, or if you have an issue, or if you feel like you have an issue, or you have a concern on something that you feel like someone else brought out or brought to your attention, send them an email. Reach out to them. You know, they're accessible, right? So, you know, I just want to keep the conversation about what we were just talking about. You know, not getting into the weeds of some of the stuff that it's almost getting into he say she say stuff, when most of 99% of us don't even have a clue about what's being said.
Correct.
And it really puts us into a conversation that we shouldn't even be dealing with right now.
And I'm gonna say
Yeah.
this: I've already kicked out some people in the chat, and I will continue to do so. Is to continue nonsense talk.
Yeah, so Jacoba, I wouldn't even address it. We'll leave it alone here. We're just gonna focus on where the conversation, where we need to be, because you have a lot of things that are brought up, and some things you just sitting there like, what does that have to do with anything that we're talking about? You know what I mean? So, but yeah, any other comments you guys have about what we're talking about tonight, and then some of the things that you saw within that debate? Because, like I said, I wasn't even going to talk about the debate, but being that it's brought up, but any other things that you saw within that debate that kind of stood out? But again, for me, when I looked at the comment section, it's an indicator on who really thought or who believed won that debate. And looking at that comment section, it looks like it was 9-1 in favor of Guerrilla Hebrew based upon the comments that was there, because many were saying that they're Christians, but they didn't agree with Dr. Brown's approach, saying that he didn't show sources. He, the things that they just didn't agree with his whole approach. They even agreed that Guerrilla Hebrew gave a much better presentation. He gave scripture. It wasn't just sources. He gave scripture. And so that's some of the things that I observed on that.
I think they were. I think Brown and Vocab and them thought the white pill bottle was enough. He didn't need to come with any proof or sources.
Yeah. It just seems like his whole approach was like, listen to what I say. Almost like, what's that? The Wizard of Oz. When Oz got exposed. Hey, don't pay attention to that man behind the curtain with the dog. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's kind of like that. Just listen to what I say. I am the Oz. So that's how it kind of came across to me. And not just for me, especially a man of his caliber. I've seen debates, and we all seen debates, whether it's Bart Ehrman and those, he gives presentations. All of them gives some type of form of PowerPoint presentation to give to give their point, their side of the argument. And you didn't see that at all. So you was going to say something, Don?
Yeah. So I'm going to give you a little more insight. I'm folk. So for our people's edification. And our folks they come out of that One West camp, and they are total debunkers of the chart. And that's where Brown thought he was going to come in. He thought he was going to come in with 11 of the chart. He thought he was going to win the debate on several different strategies, that if he was debating somebody like you, Pastor Kelly, who speaks the paleo and reads the paleo, you would annihilate him. So that's why they chose the Sakari camp, because we'll destroy the Sakari camp. None of these people want to come and have an intellectual conversation with our community, because we will absolutely obliterate them. My whole thing is like that. Excuse me, Michael Brown. Oh, you want to talk about who you are and who we are? Okay, so I need you to just look at the walls in Egypt, and just look at the Kesh relief, the anthropology and the archaeology, and we're done, cuz.
Well, you know what really got me though? I didn't like how he went at Guerrilla Hebrew mother.
Mm-hmm.
He came out hard with that, like, "Hey, your mother's white. Your man,
your mama joke.
Did you guys catch that?
You're a
Like, to try to put him in a pickle by saying your mother's white. So basically saying because your mother's white,
you're not pure.
You can't be an Israelite because your mother is white.
Fight this fight. You can't.
I would have said.
You
I would have
have
flipped
a
it back and said,
legitimate,
but however,
and that's why I was saying That's why I was saying that he couldn't come. He couldn't come against Brother Yakoba. He couldn't come against you. He couldn't come against Moray Jedi. He couldn't come against any. Cause see, he couldn't come against my nephew Shasham or my brother Konaf. Anybody that can speak and read the Hebrew, oh, he will be in a loss. And I'm hoping to get to that level. They're gonna teach me how to read and how to speak because I have the ability to do that on the Paleo Hebrew.
That was only
Because
one thing could have been said to him. It would have shut the whole thing down. Because all he had to say
once
to
you
him
know how
was
to do
this:
that,
that anyone can be, if anyone in this on this debate tonight decide they want to convert to be a Jew, will make them a Jew. But you cannot say that you're a Hebrew Israelite because you have to have a bloodline for that. So I can become a Jew. He can become a Jew. Anybody can become a Jew. All you do is convert. But you cannot convert to be a Hebrew Israelite. In this mother situation, according to your doctrine, according to your information, in order for a Jew to be a Jew, you have to be born of a mother Jew. That's not the case of a Hebrew Israelite.
Right.
It goes to your father's bloodline.
Right.
And it lays it out in the
all.
scriptures. It's right there in the scriptures.
In the scripture,
right?
yes.
So
I mean that's so
hold
dead.
on,
That's
hold
an
it down.
argument
Let
that's
Sister
so
Carol
dead.
finish. Go ahead, Sister Carol.
I was gonna say that would have been the end of it because there's that is according to their doctrine, according to what the word says. You're saying that anybody can be a Jew. No different than what that rabbi was doing to the Ebos, who was telling them that you are Israelites. But let me ask you a question: do you want to stay a Hebrew Israelite or do you want to become a Jew? That begs a question right there.
Oh, but did
That's
you
a
guys
number
catch?
one question right there.
And
So
Yakoba,
you
did
mean to
you?
tell me that
Oh, I'm sorry.
anybody can be a Jew? So it's in other words, you telling everybody that you fake, that you're a converted person to a religion. You weren't born that way. You converted that way.
And the thing that caught me too, the thing that caught me too was when he tried to play the numbers. Remember, he said something to the effect that, like almost like trying to say that the Ebos can't be the people because the number of Ebos.
Yeah.
You
They
know,
don't even realize
I
that
was
Igbo
like,
means Hebrew.
Yeah, he was
you know what
saying
I
they
mean?
were too large. That's what he was saying.
Too large. Yeah,
Too
he's
large.
That's
basically
crazy.
and I'm like, wait a
Yes.
minute. Wait a minute. If Israel went from 70 people to 2 million people in the course of a 215-year period, and all of them agree with that.
Right.
So you're telling me that can happen over a course of what? We're talking about thousands of years.
Correct.
But the thing about it was he was including all the people and not calculating on the Afro people.
Oh no,
See,
he
the
was
Afro
very
people are the only ones that matter. The Afro people are the only ones that matter.
He was very strategic. He knew exactly what he was doing.
Exactly.
He wanted to use that as an argument
Why?
of saying that basically side dissing the Ebos, like, hey, the Ebos can't be the people basically because they too large.
Right.
We basically saying we can't be the people because it's too many of us.
But
yet you tell him, you know what I mean? That's where he was getting at. You know,
the whole debate was calculated. The whole debate was calculated. Do you not think that Guerrilla Hebrew was a chosen vessel for this debate to further their thing?
Come on, now we know that.
They underestimated. They underestimated him. He is a chosen vessel, bro. Out of everybody, all of us on these YouTube streets, Sakari is not. It's not an albatross. It's not this little mole in there. There's so many of us out here, and they don't want to speak to anybody that has anything to do with this community right here. Pastor Kelly, your community, the tail community. Oh no, they're not trying to invite you to a discussion. They're not trying to invite FOPE to a discussion because they know we will annihilate them. And so they go to the weakest link
Well,
to
this is why I'm
try
going to,
to move that agenda forward. And I'm going to shut up.
and this is where I'm at with it. It's like I'm not mad at them having a discussion with Gorilla Hebrew. I'm not mad at it. You know what I mean? Because actually, it reinforces everything. Why am I saying that? They went to Gorilla Hebrew
Mm-hmm.
and they underestimated him, thinking that he wasn't going to come prepared. Right?
Right.
I'm telling you, I've seen Gorilla Hebrew on Sinetta TV's channel. And even though you may not, I don't agree with everything that he's teaching, but he always give his presentation is together, no matter how you look at it. So I just think that sometimes it's good to be underestimated, like Mike Tyson and Buster Douglas,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Because
Yeah.
Mike Tyson, if you study that whole what he was doing prior to fighting Buster Douglas, he did everything what a boxer wasn't supposed to be. I mean, be
Exactly.
doing. He's sleeping with women, having literally. He said he had a threesome the night before the fight.
That was after his divorce from what's her face. So he was wilding out.
But you see what I'm saying, though, right? He did everything that he was not supposed to do because he looked at Buster Douglas like, hey, this guy right here, I'm going to take him out. I don't even have to prepare for him. When Buster Douglas was like,
Playing
look,
not to lose.
this is a lottery ticket here. Buster Douglas came in the best shape that he's ever been in his entire career.
Yep.
Because when he fought Evander Holyfield afterwards, he reverted back to the overweight Buster Douglas. Before that fight, he did what all of us would have done. Hey, wait a minute, this is my meal ticket.
Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. The whole family is celebrating the knockout. The whole family celebrating the knockout. Please,
and that's what I'm getting at. I'm kind of glad. Actually, I'm happy that it was the very one that they underestimated. I'm glad it was done that way because I think if it was any one of us, it probably would not be talked about as much.
That's true.
But because it's how many view the camps, and I'm not saying all camps are out there cursing people out, but the way that they view them, like Gorilla Hebrew made it clear. He's like, hey, I'm a high school dropout. So a high school dropout is not supposed to have a presentation like he presented.
Yeah. I like when he did that because he disarmed them up front.
Yeah, you from Galilee. You from Galilee.
Yeah, so I know that I know for sure when I saw that first round and Gorilla Hebrew gave its presentation, started out with his presentation, you can see it changed the whole trajectory of that debate.
No,
yeah, because Dr. Brown was shocked when he saw that PowerPoint. He was not expecting a PowerPoint presentation.
And not just the PowerPoint, but what he was presenting. He even
gave
the
information
scholars,
he was presenting in it. Yes,
right, scholars that he rolled with.
Right, he was not expecting that at all. His whole face, his whole trajectory of his face changed. I'm like, oh, this man's totally surprised by this. He was not expecting this. So what he started doing, he started tap dancing, putting a minstrel show.
You know what?
Hold on, hey Don, hold on 1 second, Don.
Praise and glory to the Most High God.
Absolutely.
Because he's going to use a vessel, whatever vessel he's going to use. And so I give him all praise and glory because guess what? Our two communities didn't even have to step into that. The chart community destroyed them. Wow. What do you think we're going to do to them if they ever have the audacity to step to our communities? The Chartiani communities destroyed them. Wow. I know the level of truth that you guys bring. Pastor Kelly, that's why I call you my pastor. Yakoba, Minister Yakoba. You're my minister of truth, brother. I love to hear you come with it because you never disappoint. Do you?
Hey,
these juveniles don't have any type of adult sense to bring the real, because the scripture says this: these people cannot teach us because they don't have the authority to teach us the wisdom of the Most High Yah. That belongs to us, and I would say you, Pastor Kelly, and I would say you, Minister Jacoba, because you've already demonstrated your abilities and the gifts that the Most High gave you. These people don't have that. They don't have the unction or the blessing of the Most High to do that. So I'm not listening to them, because what they're talking about is foolishness. I listen to y'all, and I listen to the Ruach HaKodesh as I read the word, and that's it. So
Hey, brother Dar, I'm going to cut you off. Hey,
no,
brother
no,
Dar,
no,
I'm going
you
to
ain't cut me
cut you
off.
off. Appreciate
You ain't
you.
cut me off.
Hey, because we got somebody that jumped on here real quick. I want to give him an opportunity real quick. Ruthless Truth, what you got?
How you doing? Hi, hello to the panel.
Hey, how are you? How are you?
Praise the Lord, brother. So your topic is proves you're not Israel. Can you I guess that's saying that we're not Israel? We're not
No,
Israelites?
actually, if you look at the topic, did you watch the lesson?
Mm-mm.
All right, so I encourage you to watch the lesson. If you listen to the lesson, I'm actually using what others have said about us, stating that Deuteronomy 28:68 proves that you're not Israel. So that's not
And
what.
is this referring to Christians?
Yeah.
Well, we are
But
Israel.
not just with Christians, but others within, not just Christians, uh, others that are within the Jewish community, they would
Mhm.
tell us that Deuteronomy 28:68 has nothing to do with us, that it doesn't
They're
prove
wrong.
that we are Israel.
They're wrong.
Yeah, so that's what the lesson is about. So that's what I want to make you say to you, just when at your leisure.
I can give you but I'm pretty well studied in that area. So I can
Yeah.
give you if you want to just give you just my overall study throughout the Bible, Israel versus Christians, right?
Repeat that again. You lost me.
I can give you the way the Bible preaches Israel and the Christians. In the Bible, how we are displaced, how we are placed together, right?
I see what you're coming from, but again, the lesson tonight was just all about really giving proper clarity on Deuteronomy 28:68
Mhm.
from a biblical perspective, but of course breaking it down from a Hebraic perspective, but giving proper clarity that what it means when it says Egypt, that it wasn't dealing with a physical Egypt, but pointing out spiritual Egypt that Revelation talk about, spiritual Sodom that Revelations talk about, but giving proper clarity on words like, when we start dealing with redeem, what does redeem means from a biblical perspective? That the scripture actually simply means that you're going to offer yourselves, offer services to other communities, spiritual Egypt, but no man is going to redeem you. So that's from that perspective that
Okay.
the lesson is taught, not from a perspective of, how they tried to make it out to be or trying to limit it, because some would try to say, hey, it's past tense, that scripture is past tense. So wait a minute. So you're saying that it already happened when the Most High gave them a prophecy at that time? It's just, I just gave the basic teachings, like dealing with the ancient name of Egypt, because many would say Egypt doesn't mean bondage. When I actually went into showing what the Hebrew word is, the primitive root word of it is, just breaking it down from that perspective.
Right.
So that's pretty much what this lesson was about. Not really going into the Christian circles, just really teaching what the scripture actually means. Of Israel trying to circumvent the judgment of the Most High by entering into agreements with other communities, basically the spiritual Egypt, trying to enter into that to circumvent the judgment. And I gave examples of that with Isaiah chapter 30, how they tried to circumvent judgment by entering into an agreement with Egypt, even though Egypt had no power. So that's what I went into that discussion. We can have another discussion, and I'd love to have you on, and you could give some of your perspective of some of the things that you want to get into about the Christian perspective and the Hebrew perspective according to the Holy Text. But that's not really
So
what I really wanted tonight.
you're Most High. You say so. You are Hebrew.
I'm absolutely a Hebrew.
Okay.
So I'm absolutely. I know I'm an Israelite, not just Hebrew. I'm an Israelite.
Okay.
Because being a Hebrew is not saying that you're an Israelite.
Right.
Every descendant of Eber is a Hebrew, right? Because he's the father of the Hebrews. But I'm an Israelite, to be more
Okay.
specific to that
I'm
question.
Israelite too.
Okay. All right. Well, appreciate you. I see the line in the background. But yeah, that's what the lesson was all about. Oh, hallelujah. Hallelujah. So, but any comments you want to additional comments you want to add? Did you see the?
Well, yeah.
Talking about the debate.
As far as I do agree that what you're talking about is a spiritual context in the light of into Revelations talking about the 144,000, the new heaven, new earth, right? Lining that all up into the spiritual Egypt and God Almighty being a protector of His people. So therefore, we meaning Jesus Christ came, right, to fulfill the holiness of God. He came to fulfill the laws and all the prophets. He came to fulfill that in love, right? So, and at the same time, he brought to light the law on the interpretation of the law, which once again is put to the spiritual versus the physical, right? So you got the Pharisees, the scribes, and Sadducees who were the physical attributes of the law of born of Benjamin, circumcised, right? The physical. They brought the physical display of the church, but did Jesus reveal to them or show with them the spiritual church, which is those who are true Israelites are.
Well, that's why I said we have a discussion about that, because for me, reading the scripture, there's always a physical Israel, right? And when we start dealing with church, the word church is so generic. The word church was not even used until the 4th century, right? The word church is a word that when we start dealing with the Romans and we start dealing with that whole group of people, they started using that generic word in the 4th century that actually come from another group. What's the group? The Celts. The Celts used that word to describe their place of worship. Right. So, when we get to hold up, Don. Let me get my point out. So when we get to dealing with the Pharisees, the Messiah pointed out with the Pharisees, the issue that they were doing, they was pushing traditions of the elders. They was pushing traditions of men. Perfect example, what he dealt with the disciples eating with their hands dirty. There's not a single law that says that we have to eat with clean hands. Now, I'm not telling people to go eat with dirty hands, but there was not a single law that said we had to eat with clean hands. The actual laws coming from the book of Leviticus was dealing with the priests, making sure that they wash their hands, wash their feet when they're operating in the temple. So when we start dealing with spiritual and we start dealing with physical, uh, this is where, for me, when we start getting, we can start getting into borderline with a lot of what the church, many of what the church would teach. They would teach that the church is spiritual Israel. They'll teach that everyone that becomes accept the covenant of the Most High, accept Christ. Now, the church is like basically the replacement for Israel.
No.
So when we start looking at that from that perspective, and that's one of the things that in that debate yesterday, I'm not sure if you guys caught it. They said that basically an uncircumcised person is not physical Israel, right? That's not true, right? Israel wasn't based off of whether or not you're circumcised. The circumcision was based upon the covenant. You saying that you're going to be in compliance with the covenant didn't mean that a non-blood descendant of Israel, when they got circumcised, became physical Israel, right? So, or just like someone accepting the Messiah,
Abraham
becomes
wasn't
spiritual
circumcised.
Israel.
Now you done through two.
Abraham
you
wasn't
done through
circumcised.
two things. You done
Abraham
through
wasn't
two
initially
things.
circumcised,
Two
but
things.
in order to get the covenant, Abraham had to be circumcised.
But I'm just
Because
saying before, right in the beginning, he wasn't circumcised.
Yeah.
But yeah, he still.
Yeah.
the covenant was already made.
Yeah. So, well, the covenant, when it was handed to him, he could not take that covenant unless he was circumcised. You're right. That's what Genesis make it clear. It makes Genesis 15. He had to be circumcised. All of his bloodline had to be circumcised. Even the strangers among his house had to be circumcised. Right. Everyone living with under his household, right, had to be circumcised. Right. So, but again, that did not make Abraham an Israelite. You know what I mean? So that just means that he is in agreement, and basically his token, signed proof evidence, right, of him accepting the covenant that was given to him by the Most High.
So now there's two topics. Now there's two topics on the table. Now there's two topics on the table. We're talking about circumcision, and the previous topic, which I'm trying to get my mind back on that previous topic. When you told me, hold up, Don P. There was a very specific point, and I'm trying to remember what that topic was. And sometimes that's the hazard in the interruption, because we move on to another topic. Because now you're on circumcision, and I wanted to do the previous topic before that.
No, we get ready to get back to the previous topic, Don. But I was just answering my brother's, just responding to my brother here, because he mentioned.
Refresh my memory.
Yeah. Hold up 1 second, Don. Hold up, Don. Hold up. Let me finish. I got you. Right. So, but no, that's what I wanted to say to my brother, because he gave us some great points. But like I said, my brother, we can, entertain the discussion about that, what you presented. We could do that maybe next Shabbat. But yeah, tonight was kind of like dealing with Deuteronomy 28:68 from the perspective of us being Israel, but also we started talking about the debate.
Okay.
So let's do this. Let's have this discussion next Shabbat, or Saturday night, or we could do it Shabbat night for us Friday.
Okay, whatever. My schedule's open.
Okay. Hey, appreciate you. And
I subscribe to your channel, so whenever you upload, I'll be ready to go.
Absolutely. Hey, I appreciate you. Thank you for jumping on. Love you, my brother, and have a blessed remainder of the night. All right.
Okay. Have a good night.
All right. All right. We want to point fingers at Brother Yakoba.
Where's Batman?
What's that, Pastor Kelly?
Where is Batman?
We're gonna point fingers at you, Brother Minister Yakoba.
Oh, that's okay. I just joined the crowd.
And where's Batman?
Hey, Yakoba, I just want to know what you want to say about the Cylons.
About the who?
About the Cylons.
The Cylon. That's Chantel, man. That's not me. That's what the Chantel and Karis.
Sure, it's not you.
I need the trash can.
Yeah. Let's.
Yeah.
I don't know what's being said.
Yeah. Bring out the trash can.
I need the trash can.
Oh.
And I need Batman.
I gave somebody a 3-piece with a trash can tonight. I gave him a 3-piece with a trash can tonight.
Let me bring my trash
can. And a
out.
minion.
How do you say that, Pastor Kelly? 2-piece with a side of what?
Yeah, exactly. With a side of fries, right?
Yeah.
Take their order to go, right? So
yeah, that's it. Order to go.
We gotta give them the trash can.
You know, I love you guys so much, man. Y'all are my
Oh,
people.
hold on, Don. Let me get my 3-piece out here.
Yeah, I need my Batman.
Let me put my 3-piece out here.
With
Give a couple of sides. Of course, we got to give them their order to go.
There we go.
Oh yeah, that's dealing with some of the craziness we got to deal with, But definitely appreciate you guys, and maybe we could do a live, kind of like just going over some of the things that was discussed in that debate, because I think that with anything, there's always a teachable moment that we can pull out of it, So, what do you guys think about that? Starting with you, Sister Carol.
Absolutely. I mean, what you talked about tonight, Deuteronomy 28:68 proves you're not Israel. That's what he was trying to prove. I mean, that's the number one thing, that we're not that. And most definitely we need to have a discussion about it, because we need to be prepared for these type of attacks, because now since they put out into the atmosphere that we are the ones stirring the pot of anti-Semitism, you got to be ready for it. So yeah, it's time to gird up. It's time to get on these horses, because they're ready. They're ready for us to start coming at them. And you got to be girded up to know how to do it. Absolutely. I totally agree to a panel.
Absolutely. Yeah, we got to talk about that more and more, about anti-Semitism, because if we get quiet, man, they're about to pass laws about
That's right.
saying something that hurts somebody's feelings.
Yeah.
Like
That's it. Yeah.
Judge Joe Brown said, he said pretty much they want laws to be passed about someone getting their feelings hurt.
That's it. That's all it's about.
Don P, any last words you want to give, then I'll render the floor to Yakoba.
My pastor, because this man speaks the words of truth. Listen, we're watching it all go down. And it's not just on this side of speaking truth, because that has the ramifications for our soul. Let's not forget about what's going on in the real world that has the ramifications for our physical beings. We are watching, if you're paying attention, if you're looking at the man who's building a damn ark.
All right, man, no cursing.
Our world, damn is not a curse word.
Hey, for me, it is the way that you're using it, right?
Well, I respect you.
You weren't talking about something that's containing water, okay? You weren't talking about short form of Adam, okay?
I'm talking about something that's against the Most High. That's called damned.
But come on, man. All right, go ahead. Keep
damned. The Most High says something is damned, is cursed. We're watching this system, this damned system, fall apart. How much closer can you get to the word? I kind of got drifted off of where we were at and what I was talking about, but I'm talking to our people about what you're watching going on. You're watching the word being fulfilled. And I'm trying to tell our people to be wise in this. And so now I'm at a broader, stance than I was when I went into this. Listen, family.
What?
In his word that the system is wrapping up. And he also told you to look out for the signs. And so, Family, be wise and be as shrewd as serpents, be harmless as doves. A lot of y'all got a lot of invested in Babylon, and you need to know how to get what your worth is out of Babylon. Anybody that's retired, you need to know how to get your worth out of Babylon, because when this system falls, you ain't gonna have no retirement plan. You ain't gonna have no social security. You ain't gonna have none of that. And this system is falling. You're seeing it every day. While they talking about peace, and safety, this whole thing is falling. I love y'all, and you know what? I'll be that dude. I'll be that donkey for the day. I'll be the donkey with the hole in the ground for the day. If y'all understand what I'm saying. This
All right,
this
Don.
only
Hey,
because I love y'all. But anyway, Pastor,
who you
my
want to throw in the
pastor.
garbage can?
This whole Western system, they got my people blinded. And that's the Pope and all that. So throw them in the trash.
So appreciate it, brother Don. Really appreciate you, my brother. Thank you for the love and support. Thank you for jumping on tonight. Really appreciate your input, and we'll do this again next weekend for sure. But Minister Yacober, anything you want to share? Any, words that you want to share with the people? Any final, words of encouragement or whatever you want to share with the people, including who you want to throw inside the garbage can? Give the garbage can award to.
Sure. I find it interesting. Once again, shout out to Gorilla because I think he did a good job. We're not going to agree on that 12 tribes chart ever, but as far as him holding his own, he did a great job. And I also think that honesty is lacking over there on that other channel, even with Dr. Brown. Because in one breath he says, yes, Limba are Israelites, and 200,000 of us could be Israelites, but yet they deny our claim. Well, you can't prove that the curses fit you, and but then you just said some of us might be Israel. Somebody got to make it make sense. I'm like, they trying to put me in the matrix, and I'm not going there with them. They can't gaslight. I'm like, you already look. We don't have to say another word. You just admitted some of us are Israel. Okay, now you want to exclude a whole bunch of us. That just don't make no sense to me. So Pastor Kelly, I'm just glad that you and I and Sister E and Dante and Minister Teu and everybody and Benaiah, we didn't fought that fight. We don't need a debate no more. We don't need to debate Dr. Brown and all of them just because he has a PhD in the channel and he's a white pill bottle. We didn't defeated any arguments he could come up with. They already admitting who we are. So we don't have to fight that battle anymore. Now, hey, it's good that, Gorilla and them wanted to do it, which is fine. That's their prerogative. Right. But we really don't have to, So I just want to say, keep doing what you're doing, Pastor Kelly, because you know how it is. It's not easy, because you and me and many others, we put in a lot of work, and sometimes all they really need to do is go look at the videos. Right. So that's all I have to say. And then, for the haters out there, it is what it is. Haters going to hate. I'm good because I know I'm going into the kingdom. And the Most High love me, and I love the Most High, and I love the Most High people, and I ain't angry at nobody. Thank you, Pastor Kelly. And I like to throw in the trash can, Dr. Brown.
Oh man, I gotta throw the trash can. Let's do the trash can. I actually got to pull another one on there too. I haven't used this one in a while, but I have to pull this one on him as well. Where's that one at? I got to pull this one on Dr. Brown. You know, it's almost like after watching that, it felt like he didn't belong in the conversation at all. I had to pull this on him.
I love that one, Pastor Kelly.
Had to give that order a special delivery, right?
Yeah.
You know, but definitely appreciate it, Minister. And any projects you and your brother working on, upcoming projects that you want to announce before we
Nothing
wrap up?
major. Just want to let you know, you know, all your audience, and I posted this at our website, is that the president of Kenya told his people to get out of the dollar. So just letting y'all know. And thanks, Pastor Kelly. And
Appreciate
thank you,
it,
Sister
Minister.
Carol.
Appreciate it, Minister. Tell your
Absolutely.
brother I said hi.
All right. And Brother Don, love you. All right. See y'all. Love y'all.
Hello, my brother.
I'm on. Now, Sister Carol, I know I forgot to give the trash can award to you. Anyone you want to throw inside the trash can
Oh,
before we
you
wrap
already
up?
did it for me tonight. I'm good. We've cleaned the whole entire area now. It's disinfected, so I think we're good now.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. You can go ahead and shut on down.
Okay. Well, family, in the words of the Most High, give it to Moses. And before I give my final thoughts here as well, I want to say here again, you know, with what really Hebrew and what he presented, he did a great job. And tonight I really did want to focus on differences because we're always going to have differences, but I wanted to focus on what he, you know, just really give him to compliment what he did because he did a great job,
Yes, he
especially
did.
what he was facing, you know, going up against, you know, a professor, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and he already knew that the odds were stacked against him. No one expected him to do the job that he did, and I will say again, he did a great job presenting his argument. Whether you agree with him or not, he did a great job presenting his argument.
Yes, he did.
He used scripture like all of us require
Mm-hmm.
of someone that's debating, you know, or in these type of discussions, these spaces. So I want to make it clear, you know, I don't want to deal with differences. You know, I want to deal with what we all can agree with. He did a great job with his presentation,
Yes, he
and
did.
that's what I really want us to keep our attention on. All right. So Sister Carrie said you didn't have anyone to throw in the garbage can, right?
No, you already took care of mine earlier when I asked you to
All
throw.
right.
I need the trash can. So yes, we're definitely good. You can put the Professor Brown in there. Most
Okay.
definitely.
This is the second time, so we'll give it to him. All right. Let's see here. Absolutely, and what I expected more, I really expected him to give a presentation. I didn't
I
expect
did
him
too.
to come the way that he came across. I thought he was really gonna, you know, even whether I agree with what he was going to say or not, I thought he was going to at least give more of an academic
Mm-mm.
angle on his
He didn't.
substantiated arguments. So
He
I
didn't take us seriously. That's why he didn't do it. He purposely came there just to do what he did because he didn't feel he needed any preparation because he deemed us as beneath him to do so. So why
yeah
should he put any effort to do anything? So that was his whole purpose, was to come and do exactly what he did. And then he got shocked. He wasn't expected. He couldn't pull anything up because he was jammed up. He didn't prepare.
yeah
And it
yeah
showed.
yeah. And again, Gorilla Hebrew went at the strongest argument. He went
Oh,
at his strongest
absolutely.
argument. So, but yeah. Uh, did I pull the garbage can out already?
Mm-hmm. You
If
did.
I did, I'll do it one more time just in case. All right, family. In the words of Moses, by way of the Most High Yahweh, he said from Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 to 14, to the Israelites who was, contemplating on going back to Egypt and began to complain because of the Egyptians coming up on them. He said, Fear ye not, stand still, see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you're dealing with right now, they will not have power over you ever again. The Most High will fight for you. But here's the kicker, family. We have to hold our peace. And the Hebrew word there in that text is karash, which means be quiet. Can't go back, can't stay here, keep moving forward.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14, verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel.